to, oh, go ahead.
I think because no one else is going to receive reparations. That's what it is. It's some jealousy stuff. No one else
Do
is
we
included,
So
do
and
we
that can
feel
hurt
Speaking,
do we
some people.
feel
That can hurt some people.
They're
When
not
they
Yeah,
feel
included.
that.
do,
They're not
But
included
in
in
this
this
specific
justice
reparations
claim.
claim.
right,
Yeah.
do we feel like
right.
reparations
But
are
I
like
think it's
Michael,
important
you,
for us
you
to
you sound very
remember
muffled.
that we're
oh
doing
sorry
this
sorry
for our ancestors. Like people think we're doing this for ourselves. We're doing this for our ancestors who suffered in this country. Because I think people are kind of pertaining it to just being black in America. And it goes way beyond this. This is talking about something that happened in the past that we're trying to
And
get
what's going
redress
on
for now.
today? And we still getting
And
gunned
what's
down
going
to.
on today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah so me so if I can add on to that, so me personally, I'm a I'm a descendant of slaves. My grandmother is from Greenville, Mississippi, a small town. And then my other grandmother on my dad's side, they're from Louisiana. And me personally, I'm doing well financially. I make over 6 figures a year, but I know this is
Oh,
more. But I know this movement is bigger than me individually because my grandma been through systematic racism. I actually have my grandma's sister was one of the people that stayed in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and um, Tulsa, Oklahoma was a black-owned city, a fully black-owned city. Black banks, black grocery stores that got bombed down by by white supremacists, and they never received reparations for that particular incident. So I feel like in America, people talk about slavery, but we also had more issues than slavery. We had Jim Crow laws. We had the war in the '80s that was a drug war that actually messed up the black family structure. So like they basically after the war on drugs, they actually paid they actually was paying women to not have a man in the house, and that's government assistance and all that. And was uh, that all manifests into um, black men being 50% of the prisons, but only 13% of the population. I mean, of the population. So it's a lot of systematic stuff that we are owed, and we also deserve spiritual reparations because um, we also have a lot of mental mental health issues. We also have just a lot of systematic psychological problems that stem from years of trauma. So just I just don't like seeing people that's not from this country that live in other countries have an opinion. Like your opinion is heard, but it don't matter because at the end of the day, the people that's a part of the movement and just keep growing are going to get their reparations. And I feel like there's other solutions. And I don't even agree with everything about ADOS, but I support it uh, full full heartedly because I know people in my family are a product of systematic racism, and they're old and due. And people, so this is my last point. And there's so many movements that started in America that influence other movements across the diaspora, even in Africa. Like the civil rights movement in the 60s, 70s inspired the Nelson Mandela apartheid movement. So I feel like once we get our reparations, then we can talk about the scramble for Africa that divided up the whole Africa, and Europe just colonized the whole Africa. Eventually, y'all get your reparations for that too, but let's worry about us first, and then you next.
Yeah,
yeah,
I,
that's fine.
I,
Thank you, Trey.
can I say something? I've been waiting.
Go
Please
ahead, Sadiq.
do.
Yeah, this is Sadiq here, and I definitely agree with my brother. I think the young woman that was on the line earlier when you guys were going back and forth, as an African myself, like, you have to focus on one topic first and one area. Then if we can lead by example. I'm a firm believer of that. So if we lead by example, then we can be the revolution of other countries that also been oppressed in other ways and everything. So I know at the end of the day we have a bigger goal, but we have to start from somewhere. So if we start in America, we can go to Europe, we can go to other part of the world and make change happen because it's happening. So that's what it is. Look what's happening right now with the Black Lives Matter movement. It started here, and look what happened. Now it's everywhere around the world. So that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Miss Tara, you
Oh,
had some.
can I jump in there as
No, I
well?
was clapping. Okay.
Sorry. So you sound really muffled, Michael. If you could please figure out what's going on with your mic, we'd love to hear from you, but we can't hear you very well. While Michael does that, I would love to hear from John.
How
Hey,
about that?
John.
How about this? Is this better?
Oh, that's much better. Go ahead, Michael, and then
Hello,
John.
hey everyone. Hi, my name's Michael. I'm from the UK. Just been listening to what you've been saying here, and I actually agree with a lot of the stuff that you guys are saying about ADOS. I definitely agree when it comes to like the dismantling of globalization and the idea that all people of like that are black in some capacity need to come together, depending regardless of where your countries come from. I don't agree with that whatsoever. But I just wanted to ask. I wanted to ask a couple questions, just like on the realities of reparations, because I think it's an interesting like conversation. But I think that in a country like America or even like England, whenever I have where I'm from, when you have conversations about reparations, for us it would be due to colonization. For you guys, obviously, it would be due to slavery. I
It
just
will be
I
for
just kind of
slavery
want.
for Jamaicans and Caribbeans as well in England. But carry on.
Yeah, exactly. Which is a part of a second point, but I'll bring that up in a second. But yeah, but just to the facts of reparations, how realistic does that look? And I don't say that to be to dismiss your points, because I feel like they're valid, but it's just like how would a black American find reparations in a country that is owned by white people, that is created from white supremacy? How would that work? Do you know what I mean? How would we go about doing that? And also, if people don't have the answers, I know that it's a big question, so you don't necessarily have to have the answers to that. But I would love to hear any ideas on that if anybody has anything for me.
Yeah, I got you. These things start by drumming up interest within the public, you know what I mean? Like 20 years ago, HR 40 wouldn't be like a realistic thing at all. Like it's a slow process. We see it with like different trans rights, gay rights and things. It starts with the people. And now I think this is starting by pretty much trying to like forge a Black American identity and then getting people behind that idea and then moving forward towards reparations. But in terms of like policy and things, like I don't know, I think we're too far off from there. Right now, we're still just trying to drum up interest in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, can I piggyback
Yeah,
off
I hear
of
that. I hear that.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Oh, no, no, sorry. Carry on. Carry on.
I want to piggyback off of Jody. For me personally, too, it's also about gains. You know, the ultimate goal is reparations, but everything is about strides forward. And, you know, we're all clear, even if we don't live to see reparations in our generation, the ultimate goal is every generation and every person has a duty to be advocating for the ultimate goal to be repaired for ADOS, no matter how long it takes, because, you know, they always say it takes twice as long to heal a wound as it does to inflict it. They've been inflicting this wound for over 400 years. So it's going to take multiple generations for reparations to actually carry out fully. It's not just like one singular payment or one singular action. The point is we all have to be advocating towards that, and it's all small steps. Like I can even say in my personal life, even all that the conversation, the whole race dynamic and conversations have made my life a little bit easier in the workplace. They're doing small things like, you know, actually asking, you know, about how we feel, giving us days off, you know, mental days off if we're like going through things that I would have never imagined in my field prior to people actually trying to understand a little bit of race dynamics. So even, you know, it's everything that leads up to reparations as well.
And ADOS got this on national stage, and we got one of the richest countries, California, the governor to sign on with this.
That's
We
true. Small
we
steps.
did
Rich,
we
rich.
did. I'm with the ADOS. I chair the ADOS SoCal chapter. Our we have a state we have a state alliance for California, and so it's like four other chapters that comprise this state chapter, and we pushed legislation to um, have California actually start the process of studying or opening a commission to study reparations here in the state of California, and how we can get redress for people here in California to hope to at least hope to start or create the framework for the rest of the country, for other states, kind of the way that we're doing marijuana legislation, right? It's going state by state by state to hopefully eventually being federal. So we're doing the commissions to study reparations to understand, so the states and so the country itself can officially study exactly how much they owe us, right? HR 40 is on the table. We're very critical of HR 40 because it doesn't have an actual end date, and it's basically like a slush fund for people to be on the commission. They get a per diem, and then they just kind of wait it out for so long to where they just keep getting money but not really doing the work. We want HR 40 to actually have a deadline, right? Do this commission for 12 months and that's it. Have a report by the end and actually itemize exactly like there are many economists that have already done this work that actually have the numbers of what American descendants of slavery are owed. It's between 17 and 25 trillion. Some people even said $100 trillion,
Well, even
and how that would be paid out, and the comprehensive programming that will also come with it. Reparations is not just a check; it includes different programming to address our traumas, right? And just everything that this country has done to us to break us down, and now they have to make us whole. We may go the executive order route. We don't know. It depends if in the next 2 years, if in the midterms the Democrats can possibly get get the House and the Senate, there may be potential to actually push a real bill that's going to stay. And we want to eventually become a permanent line item, just like the Native Americans. They get money every presidential budget. They have a guaranteed line item. The Asian Pacific Islander community, they also have the AAPI executive order to help them create economic growth, right? They're a permanent line item now. We have to start doing this work, and we have to get out of the idea that this could never happen. No, we've never organized enough for this to happen. And this is the time. And this is the time for us to do that. And the last thing we need, and I know, John, it sounds like, I think you're British or something, but we need American descendants of slavery, Black people in America, however you identify, stop speaking against this movement. Stop trying to pull the rug up from under us, because I highly doubt the Jews had a bunch of people telling us, we're not going for what we owe. We ain't never going to get it. The
Exactly.
Japanese didn't say, we're not going for what's owed. No, they had unity and they made demands. And we have to be that damn entitled. We know we built this country. We know that we made this country the superpower that it is, and we need to hold our chins up a little higher, and we need to be a little more entitled. So I'll say that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
I would
I don't
add.
doubt that.
That's a really really interesting point, Tara. That's really 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 dope things spoken there. I think from a Black British perspective, I think maybe where the disgruntlement or the kind of issues between I guess our sides, if you want to see it like that. I think for me at least, my problems come from ignorance. I think that when kind of hearing some of these conversations, I feel like a lot of it is pushed back because firstly, I think a lot of these conversations arise out of like trivial things. So I think like Cynthia Erivo playing a role, or whatchamacallit, or Daniel Kaluuya playing a role. I think that these aren't necessarily have anything to do with what you're speaking about. I think you're talking about policy. You're talking about reparations. You're talking about the Democrat Party. You're talking about how we're talking about communities, how things can change. But I think for people in countries away from America, I feel like there is a little bit of an ignorance that comes from Americans when speaking outside of America. So I think that the issues that I feel like a lot of people have is that like the kind of I guess the kind of dismissal of colonization, and like how colonization has affected France, Germany, Spain, Portugal, the United Kingdom itself, and how that affects the minorities that live in that country and the black people that live in those countries. No, in no way, shape, or form am I saying that our experiences are the same, or that our experience should be held as the same. I don't believe in that whatsoever. But I think that to kind of just jump off your point of we all need to come together to make sure that the African American plight is held. I kind of think that it's hard to do that because in the same breath when
I call for African Americans to come together, not
Yeah, it's only hard
okay,
for
then
you,
yeah, then
Michael.
exactly. Then
Michael, if I could
I
respond.
completely agree with that. I completely agree with that.
Can I add something? I just want to add something really quickly. Sorry.
Hold on 1 second. Sorry. Let's let Michael finish, please.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, no. So if that's the case, where it's like for African Americans to come together and African Americans shouldn't be stepping on each other, just like the Jewish communities aren't doing that, just like the LGBTQ community isn't doing that, I completely agree with that. But I think that if we then get onto the global stage and we start talking about like other people's plights and where other people's like other I guess black demographics or parts of the diaspora have had where who I guess it's like whose oppression is worse. I think it's kind of reductive because I think really and truly if we start talking about colonization and the fact that
part of the issue
who said it was worse
here, Michael,
who said it was worse?
No. I'm not saying that you
dismissive.
said that either. I'm not saying you said that either. I'm just saying that's kind of the overarching kind of conversation that you have where it's like
so it's Michael, so it's not necessarily like people saying that it's dismissive is really just them wanting to be included in a conversation that specifically pertains to American issues.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, colonization and white imperialism exists all around the world, and we are aware that anti-blackness is a global paradigm. Most Americans are aware of that, but it's literally not relevant. The only way that other black people aside from African American descendants of slaves, the only way that their experiences are relevant to us as black Americans here is as immigrants and how that affects our experiences here. So you think that it's trivial that British actors just so happen to take up, space in Hollywood that black actors here would like. Now,
That's
of course,
not
we
even
could
the
all say
conversation.
it's a whole different conversation,
Exactly.
and we could all say that you could say that it's trivial, but to a black actor here that would love to just play a black American role, that may not be so trivial.
Okay, so Wesley, sorry, can I jump in on
but
that?
No, but I think we gotta also recognize that the reality situation that imperialism is the ill of this world, capitalism, all those things like BP Petroleum, British Petroleum, how they go into different parts of the world, or even like Shell, how Shell goes into like the Niger Delta and displaces people who are profiting off the land, and you know what I'm saying, it fucks up the ecosystem and things like that. So we cannot excuse a lot of these American countries and European countries. I'm sorry, I mean not countries, companies. A lot of these companies created within these countries exploit African countries, black people in America, black people across the world. So it's like we have to acknowledge.
We can't fight it all at the same time.
Sorry, Wesley, just to jump in on your point and just to jump in on what Derek said, because I think he said some really important things. But just firstly, so that there's no confusion, I'm British. I couldn't say I'm part of ADOS, but I understand.
You can support us.
Yeah, I definitely support it. Where I'm talking about is where I see issue. Where I see issue is in, I guess, where my bias will lie is like with someone like Daniel Kaluuya because I'm British. But just to kind of break these down, because we've spoken about like some things that I think are really interesting, but we're talking about almost like 5 things. So firstly, just to be clear on what I mean by colonization, I'm not even necessarily talking about just white imperialism, and I'm not talking about something that happened 1,000 years ago that has kind of dwindled itself. I'm saying that colonization is the direct reason why slavery even exists. That's my first point. Firstly, is the fact that colonization is the reason why we have slavery in America. It's the fact that why there was more slave plantations outside of America than there were inside of America. It's the
Black
fact
American, like descendants of slaves. That's the thing. It's like y'all don't think that as descendants of these slaves that we are not extremely, like a majority of us who are willing to actually like have these conversations with you are not well versed in like.
I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to.
Because I feel like you're trying to explain something to me that again, like
he already knows.
If we're talking, I'm trying my best not to
What you're
belittle
trying
or
to
to
do is
patronize what
essentially
you're
try.
saying. But
What
I
you're
feel like
trying to do
You're
we
is
have
trying
to.
to force
intellectualize the
ADOS to
reason.
open up our claim to everyone else,
Sorry,
right?
wait.
No,
Which
no,
will
no,
lead
no,
I'm
no,
trying
no,
to.
no,
later.
no.
I
You're
just want
you're
to
Sorry,
add
trying.
wait.
something.
Sorry.
Can I add
It's
something
Not
really
at
there
all.
quick?
are
Not
way
at
too
all.
many people
Not in any
speaking.
way,
All right,
shape,
There
or
are
one
form.
way
I,
too
second.
I
many
just
people
think that when we're
speaking.
having
One at a
debates
time,
about
Michael,
certain
please.
things, we
One
have
at
to
a
be.
time, please.
Sorry.
what
My
you're
just
trying to do,
Michael, I'm sorry, Wesley.
But we need
Michael,
you to wrap
please
it
make your
up,
point.
please.
Please make your point
a
quickly.
new
thank you.
point. That's
Great.
all I
And
want. I just
then
want to hear a new point because everybody keeps saying that like black
Wesley,
people
I
in
hear
America.
you.
Wesley, hold on,
I
hold on,
hear
All
Wesley.
right,
you.
let him go.
I hear
So,
you.
so
Let him
I
finish his point. Thank you.
to be very clear, I understand how even bringing this up can frustrate people because when you're firstly in a plight and you're trying to fight for a plight, and then somebody else that doesn't live in your country, that doesn't go through the things that you're going through, is coming in and questioning it. I can understand why that can be frustrating. My point, my focus here is not to belittle or to pander to anything that you're saying. I just think that we need to be clear on certain things. When
My
we're
suggestion, then, just to make this quick, is that people need to understand like what it means to be an ally. So me, for instance, right?
Exactly.
When I'm an ally,
but I'm not even trying to
I
be an
don't
ally,
go to the.
Wesley.
I
I'm
don't
not
Yo,
even
Okay,
we're
trying to
not
be an
gonna
so
do
ally.
this back
once
and forth
again, once
thing.
again, once again.
To keep it a
Guys,
complete
please,
100
please,
with you lot,
please.
to keep it a complete 100 with you lot. I don't even think there is a point of being an ally at the moment. It's like allies with the
Goodbye.
Black Lives Matter.
Goodbye.
Wait,
Why
no,
not?
hold on.
It's like allies with Black Lives Matter movement. What the fuck does that mean, really and truly, when white people are saying, "Oh my God, we're with you"? It doesn't mean anything. Really and truly, what I'm trying to say is that you're fighting your fight, and I'm trying to fight my fight. Right now, we're talking about the differences between both of the fights, and I'm trying to talk about where those issues come from. I don't need to be an ally.
Michael, can I jump in for one moment, please?
I've been wanting to add
Michael,
something. Can I
please.
please just add something,
Brianna, can I
please?
Sure, go ahead.
quickly try just from also a British perspective, from just listening, because I've learned mad about ASOS just saying that. I think what you're saying is not incorrect, it's true, but that is a conversation that ADOS feels needs to be had after they've achieved their goals. Then they can start thinking about internationally
Yes.
where
Exactly.
things
Yes.
go. But until
Yes.
then, all of that shit don't really matter from
It
what I'm
doesn't matter.
He
understanding.
hears. He hears.
And I want to add one thing, and then I want Miss Somalia to speak. I hope I said that right. But another thing too is you said both discussing. It's very one-sided. ADOS is never critiquing how another country moves as far as their advocacy. I don't understand why everybody comes and critiques us. We don't critique you. Like
Period.
it's not for you to critique us. It's for you to support us and for we to support you. Like it's simple.
Oh, who moved him? I
Can
had
I
a really
can
quick,
I go?
I'm gonna
Miss
I'm gonna
Somalia
quickly add
wanted
on.
to
sorry.
speak.
Yeah.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on. I want to also set the tone for anyone else who's an international or who's a black skin person from outside the United States. When you come up on this stage, also ask if you're asking for ADOS to open this up to be a global movement. Ask yourself first, what have you done for Black Americans?
Period.
Yeah.
Ask that first.
Or even if that's
I don't
important
think
to
he
you,
was saying.
what are you fighting in your own country? What are you doing about imperialism and
No,
colonization
no,
and
no,
redressing
no,
it?
no,
Yes, I
no,
That's
agree.
different. That's
no. Really
different.
quick.
That's
My
different.
question because
Tara, may I take
Sister
a
Lydia,
second?
really quick. Sorry, hold on a second. Sister Lydia yesterday had a room and talked about, allyship. Everybody wants us to be allies for them and allow us to be used as cattle to further move everyone else. Ask yourself, what have you done for Black American people directly? Not
I'm
in
gonna.
your country or anything else for people,
Yep.
Black skin, for Black
Yep.
Americans.
Yep.
You
We've
think
been.
Let me
if
add
you
Wait,
think
something.
that,
Can
hold
I
Sorry.
on a
add
second,
my
hold on a
point?
second,
Can I
hold on a
add my
second,
point, please?
hold on a second. Yes, hold on a second. If you want to expect us to open this up to global Black people, ask yourself, what have you done specifically for us first, and tell us when you get on the stage. Sorry, go ahead, Miss
But no
Somalia.
one
I
said that.
think
That's one thing I
couple
don't
no, but
understand.
wait,
If I
people
mean,
have said that.
wouldn't it
People
be
have said that.
also?
Can I
I
just
Hold
believe.
on,
speak,
hold
please,
on,
for a
hold on, guys.
second?
Hold on,
Miss
hold
I
on.
believe I was
What's
Somalia,
next.
next?
Really quick, I don't want
Miss
to. I don't want to have a
Somalia.
conversation. Hold on, I don't want to have conversation about it. I want people to think about that when they come on this stage and are asking us to advocate for every other Black person globally.
But
We
no
just
Yeah,
one
but
asked that. No one
wait. The
asked that.
reason
I don't
Black
know if
Lives
Please
anybody
let
Matter
else.
Miss
and
Somalia speak. She's
It's
I
been
want
too
to let
long,
Miss
contributing.
Somalia
guys.
speak.
Couple points that I want to make, and I'm gonna try to get through this as quickly as possible without getting emotional or upset. I think number one is we need to understand that there's a difference between, at least from my understanding, and please, if I'm incorrect, correct me. There's a difference between the ADOS movement and the people that identify as Black Americans. That's two
Facts.
completely different things. Number one. Number two, as first generation, we have to acknowledge and accept the fact that we wouldn't be granted a lot of these privileges if it wasn't for Black Americans in this country, number two. Number three, this whole oppression Olympics of like, yeah, okay, y'all went through slavery, but guess what? We went through colonization. That's exactly what's wrong with this conversation. We need to stop with the oppression Olympics and understand that if we are going to be in this space as first generation, as diaspora, that we shut the fuck up and we listen and we support and provide support where we can. Stop trying to co-opt the movement and keep this in a sense, how, and think about this in a sense of, again, just like Sister Tara said, what am I doing as first generation to uplift, to support, to, you know what I mean, to provide the resources, whatever the case may be, to support my Black American sisters and brothers. And that's where the conversation needs to lie. This whole trying to co-opt, this whole Daniel Kaluuya, this is about more than Daniel fucking Kaluuya. Okay, we're talking about reparations, and we're talking about wanting to support our Black Americans in getting that reparations. And if you're not willing to have that conversation, then quite frankly, get the fuck off the stage. It's that simple.
That part.
That part.
Okay, but are you
May
just
I
gonna?
please get a
Oh
word
wait,
in?
sorry.
If
Are
I
we
may.
just dismissing the whole Black Lives Movement in the
Can
UK? Like, we didn't protest for any of us. We actually protested for Black Americans.
Candy,
So are you?
nobody's dismissing it. It's just
But
not
you
the
are.
platform.
You're literally
Hold on.
asking,
It's
what are
just
we
not that
doing?
this is not that room. That's all we're saying. That's all that's being
No,
said.
okay. But when
And
you
look,
ask people from the UK who are Black, what did we do? And I tell you, we literally
Hey, mute this nigga
protested.
so we can hear her.
So, because
Okay, so
please don't
before
be.
George Floyd. Okay.
Do you know, I've been protesting for 5 years. I've
Right.
even spoken to my global company and how they can hire more Black people, not just in the UK, but company wise. So I'm not saying it from a place of rubbishness. I just feel like if you, I actually support ADOS, and I think everything you're saying is fantastic. And I don't think the UK needs to actually fight for us. We should fight for you. But when you're dismissing other people's opinions and feelings, when we're just trying to understand you, it makes it really hard for us to. Like, if you say everything I do is not anything, how do I feel to support you? I just want to, I get your movement, I support it. But sometimes just like think about the way you speak to other Black people. Don't say that we never had slavery when we did have it. Like, I'm not saying it was worse than yours or it was better or whatever. I'm just saying, like, the tone of voice of when you guys speak, sometimes it just comes across in a way that it makes it feel like our experiences are reductive.
can I may I please? I've been waiting for a bit.
May I
If I may.
quickly just respond to that last point, John? I'm so sorry. I just have to say
Go ahead,
something.
Addison. You
Thank
got
you,
it.
John. Tone policing is not going to help us come to any sort of
Not at all.
agreement as a diaspora. If, as a member of the diaspora, you see another member of the diaspora hurting, you give them the benefit of the doubt. You hear them out as a sister to another sister, as a brother to another brother. And I get what you're saying, Candy, and I hear what you're saying, but that is still derailing the actual conversation that we're trying to have. We can have conversations about hurt feelings after we finish this conversation. That's what I'm going to add. I'm in a meeting, actually.
All right.
John.
Peace, y'all. So, for those that know me, know that I have a club called Plantation Theory, the balance between freedom and security. My work is in helping Black folks get off the modern day plantation and into their freedom papers. The conversation that I'm hearing today has been, it's been a back and forth without a focus on moving forward, right? And I understand that a lot of explanation had to be given. And that's unfortunate because there's way too many resources for people to come on stage and ask questions that they can easily look up. That aside, I want to make one quick correction to an earlier point. Europe is not a continent, just to clarify.
Facts.
And that is a falsity that's been propagated for years. Anyway, secondly, I think from a community standpoint, and ADOS is building a strong community. Where I would love to see the conversation move to is what are our values going to be? What are the code of ethics, the moral standards, the obligations to ourselves that were strong pre-integration, right? Because reparation is a great theme to amass around, But that still is largely dependent on white infrastructure giving us something. What are we doing to start talking about shit once reparations are achieved generations from now, whatever? What is that going to look like for us, and what is our obligation to ourselves going to be so that we do not end up in a reparations requirement situation again? Lastly, real quick point, we all have a PhD in our traumas, right? We have the credentials to flex, and we can all spout history, and we can all spout our pain and collective trauma. That doesn't move us to a point of answering a question. If you were to get economic reparations, housing, educational, political reparations, and you were in a position to now move to a different community or start a different community, would that aesthetic of that community look like the one you just left and ultimately just replicate exactly what you've known for centuries, what we've known for centuries? How do we break those kinds of habits and self-fulfilling prophecies so that we can actually take this movement and make reparations work for generations upon generations, right? Colonialism, capitalism, yeah, those were the means to the ends that justify slavery. But capitalism, first and foremost, it has more to do with wealth and lack of wealth, right? The have and the have-nots. That's not unique to Europeans. That was well before Europeans. The reality is, at some point, American slavery became so unique and peculiar to anything the world had ever seen because they stripped its subjects of their culture. That is something that is unseen around the world. We don't have a language. We don't have a home continent or country to return to. We don't have a knowledge of 3, 4, 5 generations prior to us in a lot of cases. So first and foremost, if we're talking reparations, we need to get a database. We need to be able to genealogically prove who we are. And then we can start talking about what's afforded to us. And then we can start talking about how we're going to allocate that and replicate that.
We're doing that through death certificates.
So John,
may I please get a word?
Yeah, go ahead, Cade.
Okay, John, thank you for that very eloquent sermon. I just got on Clubhouse yesterday, and that's probably some of the realest stuff that I've heard. And the irony is, contrary to what y'all may believe, but I think ADOS has done more for Pan-Africanism in a very long time in my last generation, because look at what we have here. We have Black people from all over the world, all nationalities, ethnicities, all different identifications in here dialoguing and politicking and actually talking and discussing things. So I thank all the moderators for that. And I want to say one love to all the beautiful Black people in here. But I have a question for those who do represent ADOS. So I'm from Tennessee. And I don't know anything else outside of, I guess, Black America. And my family is my mom is from Florida and my pops is from South Carolina. And so that's the only experience that I've ever had. And growing up, the only identity that I ever had was Black. And so knowing that and not really understanding anything outside of like, okay, I knew we all came from Africa, we learned that, but I didn't grow up with Africans, so to speak. I didn't grow up with Caribbeans and identifying like in that way. And so I guess my whole upbringing has always been Pan-African. And so I do look at ADOS as something that I don't identify with. And I don't think that we're even having the discussion in a real honest and true light, because the crux and the nexus of what ADOS really is about is identity. And like y'all can say reparations and ADOS and Antonio Moore and Yvette Carnell can say all that, but what the root of it all is identity. And it's on one part, people not wanting to identify with the label of being an African, and people wanting to, in my mind, forcibly assimilate themselves into what it means to be an American. And I think the discussions that we have are very, very ill sometimes. Speaking, some brothers in here were saying, "Oh, that had nothing to do with us. That doesn't concern us." When have we as a people ever not been Pan-African? When have we as a people ever not embraced each other as Black and as all sharing the same plight, coming from the same source? Sometimes ourselves. That I don't think that's ever happened. And someone was talking about how there was a room before this. Y'all having y'all clubs, y'all talk about Callie House and what she did for reparations in the 1920s. That she wasn't looking at it in the context of, oh, we're different from other Black people, because people have been immigrating here for a long time. And when Callie House was trying to give reparations, she knew that we came from Africa. She knew that we came on slave ships. She didn't have people not wanting to identify even with being an African. And so that's what ADOS, in my opinion, gets wrong. They say, oh no, we have completely separate lineages and completely separate histories and cultures from these people. Like that's untrue. That's untrue to a very large degree. And a simple reading of Black history will tell you this. When in the 1960s, when Stokely Carmichael and all the Caribbean activists were here doing work for us, when did that come into factor? This is a new thing from a new phenomenon, and I don't think it's at all a coincidence that this rose in the era of Trump. I don't think this is a coincidence that this did come after Obama, and right now at a time when identity and nationalism is at a very controversial selling point in the media and whatnot. And so if you look at President Obama is he's the pinnacle of why ADOS is mistaken. Obama's father, as we know, is from Kenya, is Kenyan and from Africa. His mother is white, but Obama is ADOS. Obama's mother is a descendant of a slave, they say, named John Bunch, from like the 1619s, who was a slave in America and got with the white woman who then went on to produce Barack Obama's mother. So my question to the people with ADOS is twofold. Given that you would have, and that's not even to get into the history of Louisiana and Creoles and mixed people, none of that. So given that you say that we have a completely separate lineage, history, culture, all that, would you all be willing to say that white people get reparations and the Black people, such as the Haitians, the Africans, the Nigerians, the Caribbeans, all that, they don't get it, given that we have in America a very turbulent history to where it's not a straight line. It is
because you would have had to, based on Dr. Sandy Darity's criteria, you would have had to classified yourself as Black within the last 10 to 12 years once reparations is implemented. So no.
But you can search this tweet on Twitter. Dr. Sandy Darity himself says that Obama's mother, who is a verifiable white woman, would be entitled to reparations. So I'm asking you guys, given that example happens all the time.
Wait, I'm sorry. You said, can you PTR that?
I don't know what that means. I'm sorry.
That means make it as your avatar, and then we will refresh our screen, and then we'll see it. If you can screenshot that tweet, we need receipts.
Well, it's honestly, it wouldn't be necessary for us to investigate Obama's mom, whether she was actually African American under the criteria of who would receive reparations, because she would not have identified exactly. And so that's kind of a moot point. But Paige, to respond,
right? But
if you want to finish, and then I was going to try to respond.
She would be entitled to it, and I said, please use that. Please post that receipt.
Oh yeah, no problem. And also, so what about people like Rachel Dolezal, who is people coming out the woodwork every day? It seemed like, oh, I was pretending to be Black, yada yada. And as well, given the history that we have between like colorism and how your identity and your story was drastically changed depending on the color of your skin tone and the paper bag test, et cetera, et cetera. So how do we reckon all that with the
paper
fact
bag test? What does that have to do with reparations?
I think they're talking about people with a slavery lineage, so you can use ancestry.com to find it. Like, I don't think it's hard to trace who came from slaves or not.
I think I would disagree with that, but also ADOS says that starting from 1619, we have a continual story, a continual legacy, which deals with, Sandy Darity himself says, slavery, Jim Crow, all the aftermath, redlining, lynching, all that. And so given that there were people who were not ADOS, I guess you can say, even though can we all agree that there's a continuing bloodline from West Africa to the Caribbean to America? So I think the whole
So
captivity.
so
No,
so
we
when
can
you're
confirm
thinking
that.
about immigrants before the Immigration Act of 1965, the presence of Black immigrants was to the right of the decimal point. Is a very small number, so it's not hard. Really, we can be as surface to say, were your grandparents born here? And all you got to do is check your parents' birth certificates and your grandparents' birth certificates and see where they were born. Likely you're a descendant of a slave if your grandparents were born in this country. That's simple. So I'm not sure what your full argument is, because I did have a phone call. But when people want to try to scrutinize our criteria, it's not about that. It's about the fact that we are owed reparations and from this country, and because we built this country, we're the ones entitled to it. How we decide, how we create that criteria, that's up to us.
It's down to you.
Tara, can I add something to what you're saying?
And I'd love to jump in as well too, whenever.
Okay.
Sure.
One of the things that I think is really problematic with ADOS is this constant attack towards Black immigrants.
It's not an attack. There's no attack.
Before we go down, sorry, Eli.
There's no attack. In what way?
Let people finish.
Let me finish.
So Eli, before you finish, though, there were a couple of questions.
These exceptions.
Hold on, Eli, just pause for a second. There were John and Paige had both posed questions that weren't responded to. So before we delve back into the Black immigration question, I think that it's important to respond to those questions so that they don't get lost in the conversation.
Okay, no problem.
I did want to respond to it, and perhaps other people did. I know that there are quite a few new people on the stage. What I wanted to say about John's question about who we are, like if we do get reparations, or excuse me, when we do get reparations, who will we be afterwards, and how do we not arrive in the same situation several years later? I think if we're thinking about the importance of this movement, the specificity that's been applied by claiming the ADOS name has been so important because it allows ADOS people to take pride in their lineage in this country. What does that mean in terms of being Pan-African and coming from a bunch of different African, cultures and tribes previous to slavery? The reason why that is so important is because it became muddled once we did arrive here, and ADOS people became something new. Right. And so that lineage has to be recognized on its own. If you want to support Pan-Africanism, that's fine, but it muddles the movement for reparations in the political sense if we try to ascribe, oh, we're from this nation or we're from that nation. So it's really important to embrace the lineage and embrace the history that's been created over these past 401 years. That's
and most importantly,
let me clarify. Let me clarify the question real quick, because I completely agree with your points, but that's not where I was going. I'm very clear on who we are. My question was very specific about community as a foundation for creating Black self-sufficiency, regardless of reparations. So, what is our commitment and obligation to ourselves as ADOS or as a community of Black Americans that keeps us from being in the same position again?
I think that's a great question, and that's great work for us to do. But I don't think reparations, whether we get it or not, or how we get it or not, is the determining factor.
And if we look at a lot of the issues that are plaguing the ADOS community, how much of those would be resolved with reparations, right? Would we find ourselves in a better place because we now have economic stability?
Can I answer, John? If y'all don't mind, how y'all doing? Everyone, thank y'all for allowing me to speak up on there. I see we have people from across the diaspora up in here, and me, myself, I'm American Indian, so my viewpoint on a lot of this is a lot different than everyone else's. So let me answer John's question first off.
It's my lifeline.
John, I think that we have to go inside and our family, and families have to now start family businesses. Like, we don't look at our family as a family business and take the skill sets that our family has, and we don't expound on that. We don't create family businesses. If we look at the way European structure is, they always make sure that their families are taken care of. So we have to start going in-house and creating family structures and family businesses in order for us to take care of ourselves. And that's got to be the first thing for all of us. We have to start getting our family in line, because our family, like our in-house family, our personal family, our direct descendants, our first cousins and the mothers, aunts, uncles, all of that is out of line in our communities. So until we could get that together in our own homes, we can't go out into our community and say we want to get our community together. Our own homes not in order. And that goes on to y'all saying about the lineage. So I have some friends that's chiefs, that's Indian chiefs out here in America that has put their family back on the books. So what happened to us is, when we was colonized, they put commercial claims on us, and we have never rebutted those commercial claims. So the chiefs that I have as friends now, they have finally rebutted those commercial claims that Europeans put on us whenever they colonized us over here, and have now placed themselves in a higher jurisdiction to where they don't pay anything to the United States. They don't pay the tax. They don't pay the United States taxes. They don't belong to the United States. They don't live on a reservation. They are not Native Americans. They are American Indians. So there's a difference in status. And another thing I want to say about this is, we keep using the status of Black, African American over here in America. If we look at the law, Black African American is a second class citizen. Because when you look on the census, when you check out Black African American, that makes you someone from a racial group from Africa. But if you check out white or Indian, it makes you from original people. And I don't think we have put enough emphasis on exactly what it is that we are identifying ourselves in now today. Because, like, ADOS, for one thing, ADOS talks about slavery. Slaves are non-descendable. If you are a slave, you cannot own property. You cannot pass property down. You are not a descendant of slave or slavery. You are a descendant of an enslaved person, meaning that your
Facts.
family was from a higher status legally and was brought down. See, our terminology have to be specific when we're dealing with law. And when we say about reparation, it's come repatriation, restitution, and then reparations. You cannot get reparations while you're still in the slave status. So we have to correct our status first before we try to go and get
How are we still in the slave status?
His point was that we were still identifying as African American or Black instead of some other identification.
He's saying, like, by law, that what you classify yourself as has a standing in law that can or cannot progress your movement as like an independent people.
Yeah, we ain't got time for that whole tough stuff like that. Not like that, not to be dismissive, but like that's a whole other conversation, because a lot of people would disagree with that.
I would like to say though, like I don't think throwing away, hey, what's up everybody, my name's Amelia. I wouldn't say, Bell Hooks talks a lot about how like we can just kind of take certain key points from what people say and not like completely throw the whole entire discussion or what Raspy said in the trash, because I actually have thought a lot about that myself, and I think that I think there's a point there about how we are an indigenous people, and I know people
and that is certain people's opinions. We're not here to debate that, because if
I know,
someone
but
feels
can I finish my point really quick?
Okay.
Yeah, can I just finish my point? So
we're just trying to prevent from derailing the conversation.
But I think it's still part of the conversation because it's an organizational element. It's like it's a perspective that brings into the key of the way with which we're categorized, identified, and placed, which is part of institutionalization, right? And we are living in an institution. America's the biggest institution in the world, and slavery was institutionalized, and it was something that was a detriment to who we are. But also, it seems too that if we, that is what the movement, and that is what we're doing in this space, is having these conversations, which is a huge labor. And I think it's super tight that Clubhouse is here, that we're able to, like, where could I have ever gone into to have a conversation about, you know, ADOS and how we can organize and move forward. And so that's why it's like,
right, I think,
you know, but what I'm saying is that I think there is a lot, there is something to be said about us getting on a clear playing field about what, like our stake footing, our footholding as to like our identity and like what that contemplates, and that we are I mean, and I don't want to say, I feel like it's like to say,
but the thing
that
is that we're not trying to allow people to derail the conversation. If you're going to say that you think it's something great to explore, like, then also incorporate how it will add value to our movement and make us even more specific, right? If we start saying we're indigenous people, that's a whole other claim with the Native Americans, and then
but why are Native Americans only native to America when we were brought here by choice? So like, why are we not native if we are a class of our own within
but
this?
If you've already established that we are within an institution that has classified races and different ethnicities a certain way, if we start identifying outside of those parameters, right, we know we're racially Black, yes, but we're also we're also doing the work to get a census designation for American descendants of slavery, right? So we can disaggregate all of this data that's out here. But to start the conversations about we are really indigenous people and we were really here before and we traveled here with the Moors and we showed that
I didn't say that.
I know that, but I'm talking about Raspi's point, right? A lot of Black people who are saying, I'm an indigenous person and my father's family is indigenous also, but I also understand Black people were also excommunicated from a lot of these Native American tribes. I'm not about to fight that fight. Legit, this country was built off the backs of our ancestors. They owe us money. We are having a conversation within these parameters. How people think we need to identify and all that other stuff, or who we need to include, or if people are confused about ADOS, fine, we're here to answer questions, but we're not here to entertain people who thinks we need to send our movements into a different direction.
Yeah, can I just add something really quick? Tara, I think that was a great point, because I think with these conversations, a lot of the times people are bringing up their personal agendas with their own personal experience as a Black person. But when it comes to ADOS, this is about a debt that is owed. This is a justice claim. So everything else is valid, but just not in this space, because this is very specific already. So it's not trying to dismiss everybody's point of views and their perspective and what they go through, but we can't keep on like throwing everything on ADOS when there's room for every movement. If you feel a certain way, you can do what ADOS has done and create your own thing and do what you got to do. But I just feel like I've been in these rooms for like 2 weeks and people keep saying the same exact thing over and over and over again. It's like y'all don't want to hear what the message really is. And at this point, it's like we have to not let people derail the conversation. If you bring up a point that has already been addressed, we cannot address it again. We have to continue to evolve the conversation because there is real work that needs to be done. We are fighting the most powerful government in the world. And it's a debt that's owed to us. So we got to get focused, and we cannot keep trying to, bring in everybody else and what they got what they got going on. Excuse me, I'm a little fired up because these conversations are so draining, and it's like people just keep missing the point. It just keeps going right over their head. I'm gonna just stop right there, but that's what I want to say.
Can I chime in on that really quickly? Because I've been listening to all of this and I've been trying to avoid all of the different rooms, to be honest. I am, by background, ADOS. I am not, part of the organization. But I think as I've been listening to all of this and people sort of saying, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? I think what we're missing here is that we need to have this framed from a standpoint of equity. And to achieve equity, paths for different populations may be different. And you don't get to equity if you don't acknowledge that we can all be Black and all part of the African diaspora and all impacted by white supremacy, but that how that happens may be different by nation, may be different by whether it was how colonialism occurred, may be different by impact of class, whether you're urban or rural or suburban, even within the the U.S. or across the Americas, et cetera. That whether you have attachment to a language outside of the country you live in now, because it's not as if Black Brits were just there either. All of these things are nuanced, and I feel like a lot of the disconnect is that people, and I think it was John who said it earlier, people are very informed about their nuances and want that to be respected and understood, and a lot less open to other people's when they feel like it leaves them outside of things. So I've been listening to the people who are here to answer questions about ADOS, and there was a bit of the tone policing comment earlier that took care of that, so thanks to Adeshola for that. Right, ignoring the tone though, I heard frustration. I didn't hear like exclusion. If I say I am working on X and you say what about Y, we already know that formula. Black lives matter, all lives matter, et cetera. We know that formula. It's derailing. And so I think if we can just all show each other enough grace to not say that my fight for my particular achievement of equity has to be in conflict or in competition with yours, then that's how we remember the diaspora. Like when Paige was saying earlier about historically, right? Marcus Garvey, Stokely Carmichael, there are a number of people who are of Caribbean descent who came in earlier generations of the Americas, and they are important, and I'm grateful to them. To Tara's point, they are rounding, but they are rounding errors in terms of the total numbers when you talk about the long line and lineage of Black existence in the US. And so we're talking about a national lens for a specific slice of a global fight that has to happen. And as long as we're sitting in these rooms getting upset that one group's fight doesn't look at everybody, we're not getting anywhere. And if I've lived in the UK, I lived a couple of years in the UK. When I was there, all of the BAME movements, and so for people who don't know the UK, it's Black, Asian, and middle, and minority, I don't remember what the thing is, but like it's basically a bucket that means people of color, underrepresented people. When I was there, I saw how much went there, and Black people always got the lesser. And so I would give the parallel for our UK brothers and sisters. You experience this. You understand what the people who are on this stage and talking, you know this, you live this, that people will talk about BAME statistics improving, and when you look, it always benefits the Black people least. You already know what this is about, that yes, the group has to be together, we have to have unity to move forward, et cetera, but what that looks like and how it impacts individual groups may be different, and that doesn't take from the others, and it doesn't take from the whole. And we just have to stop this fight. It is not moving anything forward. I was really hoping that at some point I would hear what the steps forward would be, and the fact that I've been in the room this long and I haven't is disappointing. But I don't think it's because, no, I'm just saying, can people just show each other grace? Just come from grace, but also don't erase. Don't erase. I am a descendant of slaves across the board, and I can go back and I've done the ancestry, and I hit a brick fucking wall at some point. And then my family went through Jim Crow, and my family went through like all of those things are different, and it doesn't reduce the pain, it doesn't reduce the trauma that came from other paths. But to say that I have to acknowledge yours within mine and redefine mine is not fair. It's just not fair. So I hope we would give more space for the people in ADOS who are trying to say what their plans are to actually speak to that instead of knocking them down at the knees.
Okay,
I'm sorry. I just want to say one thing, and then because I actually
wait. Hold on, real quick, Tamika. Hold on, real quick.
Go ahead.
Let's hold space for what she just said. Let's take that in, please, because that is the whole point. Let's just hold 5 seconds for what she just said. Okay, go ahead, Tamika. Thank you, guys.
I'm really glad that you did that, Disney. And Lee, I agree with everything that you said. I am ADOS and not in my family. There's only one thing. I actually fully support ADOS. I definitely think that it is required. The specificity is required, and we should stop doing that. Exactly what Lee said, that back and forth thing where we do what white folks do to us and then act like we don't know what's happening because it's this is a conversation that I have with colorism all the time. Like I really want Black folks to stop doing that to each other because it's ugly, and we know what it looks like if we are willing to sit with it for long enough. We've all done it, but there comes a point where we just have to own it. There's one thing I would like to respond to, as far as that I just want to make clear that I feel like this comes up in this conversation a lot. That is, and we just need to be, and in the interest of specificity, Black Caribbean folks, of which I also am, have another country that they can go to if they are in the States. But we also hit a wall at great grandmother. And I just keep, like, that's something that John said specifically, and I need everyone else. Like, I understand that from the outside it looks like, oh, there's whatever, they have Jamaica. Okay, but at great grandparents, we also hit a wall. And so we got to stop saying that, because it's not true. In the Americas, including the Caribbean, if you are a person that looks Black and you don't remember when your family, and no one can say you immigrated here from West Africa, 90% of Black folks in the Caribbean, and I would actually say that number is higher, also hit a wall, also were erased. And the same way that American culture becomes the culture of Black folks, Jamaican culture becomes the culture of Black folks. But make no mistake, Black Jamaicans are in the same position. And so I just want to say, I'm not Jamaican, I'm actually Belizean, but I want to make that distinction. But I am a supporter of ADOS. I do think the specificity is necessary. It has always made me very uncomfortable to be like, oh, I look around this university and 99% of the people that I see that are Black, quote unquote Black, and they are Black in whatever that means in the country that they're from, are in roles that were put into place specifically to disenfranchise descendants of slaves. So I just want to offer my support for y'all, because I think that it's a necessary thing. But I just want us to be very clear about that one thing, because that's an erasure that can't happen, because it's not the same kind of erasure as when somebody, from Nigeria, if they can go back hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. Like, we can't say that that's true for other places, because it's not true for basically anybody, most Black folks in this hemisphere. And I just want to, because it's specifically painful as well. So I just wanted to say that. But
no, absolutely, it's the
yeah.
Americas. And that's the thing, the Venn diagram isn't separate circles, right? There's overlap, and there's pieces, and there's stories, and that nuance is important. And you don't have to erase the nuance from any other Black person in order by upholding your own. Absolutely, Tamika. Thank you.
Thank you for that. We also, as y'all keep speaking, if you haven't spoken in a while, we are going to start moving people to the audience. We just want to give everybody a chance to speak. So if you like to speak, please. And if we move you to the audience, if you have something else to say, don't be afraid to try to come back.
May I go next? I'm not sure if there's an order.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. First generation American here. I would just like to say that I am in full support of my ADOS folks. And it's basically just one of these situations, just as a reminder to everyone, just like a lot of our cultures in the Caribbean were created with slavery and the mixing of cultures, same thing that's going on. And that happened in the US. It's just their culture was never given any kind of respect, and was never, Black Americans have been shamed for having pride in themselves. Not to say that didn't happen anywhere else. I'm just talking about Black Americans specifically right now. I've heard and been in multiple rooms with ADOS founders, including Yvette. She has said it multiple times that whatever plan ends up coming together and working for Black Americans, she would love to help spread that same plan across the globe to all other Black folks in the diaspora. We know America has the juice, America has the population, America Black Americans are more than likely going to be able to move this needle faster than other folks. But I just want everyone to remember, like, Black Americans have also specifically stated, and I heard her say it myself, that they're willing to help everybody else after they've gotten to their goalpost. That doesn't mean everybody else has to wait. But I am saying that Black Americans have specifically said, once we get the formula right, we will share that with everyone. So I think it's important to note that, because sometimes when I'm in these rooms, I know people feel like they're being left behind, and that's just not the case. Again, go to their site. You'll see Black Americans get the monetary distributions, but all the other policies that they've put into place affect everybody. And it's helpful for all of us that are in America. That's another important thing to keep in mind. Yes, they get the monetary piece of it, as they should, but the rest of it, in terms of job training, in terms of all these other items that they have listed on their website that I went to and I took the time to read through, I was like, oh, this is dope. And it works for me. You know what I mean? And I just think it's very important that, like a lot of folks have been saying, let's just not minimize ADOS's plight. Let's not minimize what they're trying to do. There is empathy across the board for all Black folks. You know what I mean? Like, we all understand that we have been through some hell, and I get it. This is one of the first spaces where we're actually being validated for that, because nobody ever listens to Black people, no matter where you're from, when we talk about the hardships that we've been in. And I understand that that's why folks are so passionate, because it's like, finally there's a space and I can speak about it and somebody's going to give a damn. And so that's good, right? Because we're getting it out. But at the end of the day, we have to remember this particular conversation is for Black Americans and how we push them forward specifically. For my ADOS folks, I do think something that you should just keep in mind, this is a personal opinion, just be careful to the people who you have representing your movement. That's my only concern when I'm specifically talking about people in Clubhouse who are creating rooms, because I know some of them can make comments sometimes that feel disparaging. So I don't want to get started in a big conversation about that. I was just saying, like, when I hear people come in and say, you guys are attacking, I know a lot of that is just coming from other rooms where it's been a little bit more controversial.
Thank you for that. Appreciate
Thank you.
that.
May I speak?
Hold on, real quick. To Matt's
I'm
point.
almost done. I
Okay.
only have 2 more points, and I promise you I'm finished. And yeah, so that's the other thing. If we all get behind ADOS folks and we all get behind their movement, then we can literally all get what we know we deserve globally. We just need to give ADOS folks the respect that they have clearly earned, and understand that this particular movement is just about them. But it can involve all of us. And if we literally all get behind them, we can help them reach this goal so much faster, which then in turn helps us all reach the goals that we need to be able to get to. And we can give everybody the middle finger who's not of the diaspora. You know what I mean? If we so choose. So I just feel like we have an opportunity to really use this as a means to unite, to help ADOS, help the movement, help them get reparations, and do what we have to do, and then continue that same energy and keep that same energy moving globally. So that was it. Thank you all.
Thank you for that.
Thank you
Matt,
for that.
I would love for you to start a room for ADOS allies or potentials, to have
Yeah,
that
that's happening.
conversation too. I think that would be just awesome. Thank you.
And also, can we
Yeah, I
point out
plan to.
one thing? ADOS is exclusive, but it's also inclusive. Like, you kind of mentioned that, but I feel like we need to drive that point. We have
Yeah.
like you said, the reparation is for us, but all those programs is very inclusive. Like, I wouldn't even expect that from anybody else's movement. So we are including you guys in the movement. Like,
100%.
that needs to be driven home. Like, read the agenda, please.
And I would recommend that you all who are in charge of the ADOS and even in charge of this room, like, there have been so many rooms. There's like 2 other rooms going on right now. I challenge you all. No, I don't even challenge. I just recommend that y'all really just start pushing the conversation. At this point, there's so many other rooms anyway. Just start pushing the conversation, in the direction that y'all feel like, in terms of like, okay, as ADOS, this is how we're about to move to the next step or the next level. You know what I mean? I'm just putting that out there. Like, I feel like I've seen so many rooms, so many of the same people. I feel like y'all are great at answering some of these questions, but at some point it's just going to be in circles. And I don't want you all to start feeling disdain towards non-Black Americans because it seems like the same questions are being brought up over and over again.
So, whatever can help you all feel like you're moving the needle and we're actually moving in the direction to get those reparations. I don't know if that's town halls or whatever. I'm just saying, I want you all to feel empowered enough to now be like, okay, we're not talking about this part anymore. It's done, but we are talking about this. And then anybody else who has any other questions about it can either go to the website or we can start other rooms and have auxiliary rooms, whatever y'all need. I'm just putting that out there.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
I think
And again, that
great.
website is www.ados101.com.
I just want to jump
Can I
in
say?
super quick about, I'm sorry, just like a super quick thing. I think that was so fantastic. And also, Lee, that was so profound and beautiful what you said. One thing I want to speak about is the language of allyship. And I would just probably encourage people to infuse accomplice. I think that's a bit more of like a proactive way of, we need people like by our side. And I think, I don't know, ally sometimes feels a bit flimsy. I just want to say that.
Okay.
It's not
Yeah,
allyship
I
if
completely
it's
agree.
not accomplishment. It's you cannot call yourself an ally if you're not willing to shed your ego out the door and put the work in.
Agreed.
Yeah, but I was saying
That's what
Agreed.
allyship is about.
But I feel like accomplice feels a bit more of a space of like, I'm a co-conspirator
That's
in
fair.
your.
No, but that feels,
Yeah.
but no, an ally has to agree. There's rules, but I've been military. You don't have allies without rules of engagement, right? People don't know what ally is. I'm going to fight this war. Are you with me, or are you, are you against me? Are you going to supply me? Are you going to give me medicine? What are you going to do to aid me in this fight? That's what an ally is, and that's the question I'm not hearing. All these people are allies. What is your contribution? Are you supply? Are you in the rear with the gear? Or are you on the front lines? What is your contribution to this fight? That's what an ally is.
I think
Agreed.
additionally, we're not trying to, ADOS is not doing anything conspiratorial. So
No, I'm
you
just
don't
using,
want to.
I'm not talking about like fighting. I'm just talking about
No,
in
I
this
wasn't
movement.
saying that. I was
Okay.
saying about
She's
Okay.
talking
the,
about the co-conspirator aspect.
yeah,
like
we
that
want to
word.
have more positive words to associate with.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to say something.
Can I speak in, please?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I thought, can we just go by order? Because I do
Yeah,
want.
let's get
Yeah.
some order in here real
Top to
quick.
bottom, left to right.
Okay, so Marcus, do you have anything you'd like to contribute?
Oh yeah. I was just gonna say that I like how this the conversation is starting to go. I've been here a while, and it was a little bit back and forth at first, but now I like how it's moving forward. I was just gonna say I think that especially with there does need to be some caution. I forgot who said it, but there needs to be some caution in representation, because I have seen you know some groups being formed where they are very combative, but also I think just to propose a line of defense. I think that something missing in a lot of because in a lot of when people push back against ADOS, I've heard it being called frustrating. I've heard it being called all types of exhausting. But one thing I haven't heard it been called is it's actually, I think, in my opinion, is very dangerous, because as we all know, like going back to the beginning of American global media, there's been a co-option of ADOS culture. Our words are known as Gen Z culture. Our images are pushed overseas and we're painted in like very suboptimal lights. And I think that when people are against ADOS, they're not just against reparations, but there seems to be an air of sometimes them being against a separate, distinct identity for, descendants of American slavery. There seems to be an air of, why are you trying to separate yourselves? Like, or there seems to be an air of, like I've been called a kata before a lot, and it's like, there's no culture of your own. The culture is just African culture that has lost its roots. And I think that that's very problematic. And so the line of defense that I propose is, when people say things like that, I don't think that it's simply belittling. I think that it can easily go into the direction of like cultural genocide. If someone is trying to say that your culture and your ethnic group is not identifiable, that it is not legitimate, that it does not matter, that can easily go into a path of cultural genocide or genocide by assimilation into other cultures. Because a lot of the, like when people come to America, right? There's I don't want to attack black immigrants at all. I'm not. But there's Yoruba people, in Nigeria, and then there's Yoruba people here. Like our only base that we have as black Americans is America, is this country. If that is compromised, if our identity of descendant of American slave is compromised, then that's then our entire ethnic group is compromised, because this is like the only, I guess, stronghold for our ethnic group that we have. So it's not just, I don't think it's just frustrating or exhausting when people try to discount ADOS. I think it can easily go into the direction of a cultural genocide.
Thank you for that so much. Would anyone like to respond, or we can move on to the next person?
I just want to add real quick, when it comes to representation and you see it not being represented in the right light, please ask those people if they're from ADOS chapter and if they're actually a part of the organization and not just by Lineage, because I think that's what's happening a lot on here too.
Absolutely. Miss Amika, do you want to say anything?
Right, it's Amaka. So I've been listening to the
Sorry.
conversation, and I think we're finally at a point where I want to chime in. So I am Nigerian. I came to the United States when I was 16, and I had a room. I actually hosted I don't know who's not on mute, but maybe you might want to mute yourself. But I hosted a room on allyship as an immediate / new immigrant into the country, and what role I can play to further the ADOS agenda. And I really want us to try to address that. I don't know if there's some kind of website that I can go to that literally has the answer. You are a new immigrant to the United States. You are Black. You benefit from the legacy of ADOS. Here is how you can help. That is what I need to know so that I can start playing the role that I need to play to further the agenda.
Well, I think primarily, firstly, just to answer your question, no, there isn't a website that I know of. But the ADOS101.com website is a helpful resource, just understanding what the movement is about. And you can start to generate your own ideas of what you can do to support from there. Also, there is a Goodreads if you go to goodreads.com and search Breaking Brown, you'll find a long list of books that help you understand the history of ADOS people and their disenfranchisement and economic plight that will inform your movements as well.
Yeah, but I want us to move. I feel like there needs to be an added narrative of this is what you can do, right?
Well,
Amaka, we can collab on it.
Yeah,
but you can
you
also get in contact with one of your local chapters as well and see what they need, where you actually are, to where you can get more involved that way. Because every chapter kind of have their own thing going, locally. So wherever you live or whatever, we probably have a chapter that you can reach out to and join, and do the work that way.
Also, one of our headquarter allies is Zarina Harris, Czarina, and I believe she's of Jamaican descent, but she's not ADOS, but she strongly believes in the movement and is a great support for us. So in the ways that she's also contributing to the movement, I think she would be a great resource for potential allies to reach out to.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome. I feel bad that I think it's Obi was on stage and they left. If they're still here, please raise your hand. I didn't mean for you to just get frustrated or be overlooked and leave.
I'm not sure that Disney got to speak. Just trying to circle back on all the folks who've tried to join the conversation.
Oh no, I spoke. Thank you.
Can we hear from Ope? Ope was up there.
Thank
after
you.
all the moderators. Yeah.
Hey guys. My name is Ope. I'm Nigerian. I currently reside in the US. I've learned a lot being in this group chat. Thankful for everybody who has taken control of this chat and is pushing it forward in the right direction. my thing. Like, I understand everything that is going on. My kind of sentiments were concerning like reparation, and I understand. Like, I feel like Black Americans or African American descendants of slaves deserve as much as they could get from the United States, as much as they could get from the fucking country, because they deserve it all. But my thing is that knowing the history and how this country kind of operates, um, it would definitely be a challenge, because it would have, it would ultimately mean that white America has to admit to their white supremacist ways, and admits to all the things that they have done, and take on this burden on them, which you know that they don't really like to do much. But I think my main question, I think, concerning the movement would be in regards to what are you guys' thoughts on all these initiatives that other countries, for example Ghana, are doing with regards to opening up citizenship and opening up a place and a space for African Americans to be able to build and go back home.
Well, we are home. We
I
go
mean,
ahead and say that.
I mean,
I get you, but we gotta get out. We gotta get out of that. Because that still speaks to like a lostness, and we're saying we're not lost. But as far as going back, all that sounds great, but we ain't got no money. Like we got to get, like, we go back to we go to Africa and we can't go there to do what? We can't go there to be the bottom caste. We can't go there to fight on a new terrain. We got to go there to affect commerce and move wealth around. And we would love to be in a position to where we can do that and trade around the diaspora. I don't think anybody have an issue with that, but we got to get the money first.
And it's also unfair for us to go to Ghana, right? I know they had this a year of return tourist attraction, that they use to basically grift money from American descendants of slavery and play on our lostness or potential lostness. But that wait list for citizenship, like, it's extremely long. It's a long way. It's not really real. More so of an incentive for us to pay application fees and to help build their economy. They also don't have the infrastructure to support us going back home. And I think it's also unfair for the current inhabitants, the current citizens of places like Ghana, for them to now have to compete with us. We built this country. My ancestors' bones are in this soil.
That
I'm
part.
not going nowhere. I'm not
That
going
we
nowhere.
need both. We can have both. We don't have to pick or choose. We fought for this. We're gonna take back a hold of this, and then we're gonna use it to also help everybody else.
Can I say something? Can Serafina say something?
I think we're going top to bottom, left to right.
Oh, my
Please hold
bad.
on to that thought. Okay, if your question has been answered, would love for you to move back to the audience so that we can make
Yep.
some more space.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Abu Bakr?
Yeah. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Abubakar. I'm African, as you can see by my name. I'm originally from the Ivory Coast, and I moved here when I was about 17. And I guess I just wanted to chime in because I think the whole ADOS thing is very interesting. And personally, I do support ADOS. I do support the effort for reparations. And I think, it makes sense for Black Americans to decide that it's time that they can decide on a collective identity that they've not been afforded in the past. Because as an African, I don't think it's fair for me to say, yeah, I'm Black, but I'm from Africa and I'm Ivorian, this and that, and then turn around, get mad at Black Americans for doing the same thing when it's something that's going to help them further the movement. So I want to definitely say that I agree with a lot of the sentiments that were shared by some of the ADOS brothers and sisters here, and say that I don't have a problem with the movement. And I think it's something that's good. ADOS don't have to include anybody that's outside of the ADOS group or who don't fall under that umbrella. So I don't think it's fair for first generation Africans or African immigrants or just Black outside of the ADOS label to have a problem with us, with the movement. And I don't think ADOS has to be fighting for everyone or include everybody in the fight at the current moment. Definitely, if further down the line ADOS decides that they want to include everybody else, that's a choice that ADOS has to make, and no one has to chime into that.
But you
So
included,
I wanted.
brother, in the Black agenda. You included.
Thank you
You are
so much.
included.
Thank you, but I just wanted to finish my point. So going off that, I just want to let you know I don't have a problem. I just want to let you guys. I just want to let you guys know that I don't have a problem with ADOS, and I do support the movement. It makes a whole lot of sense to me, and I don't see why people would want to undermine ADOS. However, I want to I want to say this thing because I've seen or I've heard certain things that I think kind of undermine the whole idea of ADOS. I've seen some people who are at the forefront of ADOS making, I would say, pretty drastic comments or really bashful comments about African immigrants. And, I don't want to think those people like Tariq Nasheed are the representation of all ADOS people because he seems like a leader. But, some of the things that he
No, he's
said
not with
and that
us.
were back. Now, let me finish, and then I'll let you guys go. Some of the things that I've seen him say, and a lot of people who identify as ADOS say and support were very xenophobic and anti-African in the essence. So these are some of the popular talking points that I heard, and I wanted you guys to clarify them to me. And if you have facts, data, and statistics to back them,
Really
I'll be
quick
more than
before you
willing
go
to
into that,
listen.
really quick,
Yeah,
Tariq.
let me finish. I just wanted to ask you
Hold
this
on,
because those are the.
hold on, because I don't want this conversation to go into something else that has nothing to do with us. Tariq Nasheed is FBA. We are ADOS.
Okay, but okay, then that's something else because when I was following some of his videos, he did identify as ADOS at some point, and a lot of the people who would back his comments did identify as ADOS. And even here on Clubhouse, I've heard some people who identify as ADOS, push this narrative that somehow African immigrants or just Africans, period, are undermining Black Americans, that we're stealing jobs away from Black Americans. Now, could that be true? I don't know. And I would like you guys, if you have facts, data, or statistic to back that up, to let me know if that's true, because I think those are, grandiose claims that are rooted in false city and don't make any sense. So I wanted to see if there were any type of truthful statement in those claims that a lot of so-called ADOS people are making.
Were you in the room about not by Fred Hampton?
No, not that I don't think I remember the title of the room, but I've heard quite some, interesting claims. That's
Okay,
why I
so
wanted to come here and have you
okay,
guys
so
address those.
so our issues with those two, with the movies, with the Harry Tubman movie and the Fred Hampton movie, right? These are American descendant of slavery, or even Harry Tubman. She's an American slave. That is a Black American hero, right? We should be able to play our own heroes. Fred Hampton from Southside Chicago. My mother's from Southside Chicago, right? There's a connection there. There's a sense of ownership. There's a sense of yeah, there's a sense of ownership, and we already know that Hollywood already shies away from making Black movies. But when they finally do, Black people want it to reflect us. We want it to be us. That whole fight about those two movies, it shows the way that the United States practices immigration to help contribute to Black erasure or Black American erasure, right? And it's not about, oh, Black immigrants cannot come here and work, right? Get your bag. But we're saying that the United States can't trick us into saying that these Nigerians who are in tech and their income level reflects the wealth level of Black Americans who are descendants of slavery, who have a historical presence in this country, and also have also been historically economically locked out of participation in this country. So when the United States does something like that, that prevents us from being able to pull the data and say, hey, this is really how bad we are doing, and this is why you owe us. So we are against the conflating of the two numbers, but we're not against Black immigrants coming here working and making their money. We're against the American establishment trying to use African people as veneers for Black American people. Cynthia Erivo, Daniel Kalua, that's kind of like what that is on a visual on a visual platform. That's why we came for those two movies so hard, because this is what the United States are doing, but this is a visual representation of it. We can see it. You have pulled other Black people from a whole other country to come here and play us. That's an avatar. That's not us.
Could I add some stats
That's
on
not
that?
us. So we don't have an issue with Black immigrants. We don't have an issue with people coming here to make money. We have an issue with the way people are contributing to Black erasure. And a point that I brought up in another room, I think 2 days ago, and a lot of continental Africans were asking, well, how can we be allies? Don't allow yourself to be used as a pawn for white supremacy, and don't allow yourself to be used as the buffer class, right? A lot of people have fallen into that trap. And that is something that you would have to deal with your community, right? How many Nigerians get into positions of power and still won't hire African Americans, right? And I'm using that term just because a lot of people understand what that means and the distinction. Or ADOS people. How many get there and don't pull back from the people who are from this country, right? Like,
Right.
what can you do, and how are you participating in our erasure? You guys have to start asking yourselves those questions. We're very critical of that. We're very specific about that. But it's not a hatred. It's about what has been allowed to happen, and we won't allow it to happen anymore.
Okay. So to piggyback of what you said, it's not necessarily that you think jobs are being stolen or opportunities are being stolen from African American. You think the fact that Africans are representing certain spaces contribute to ADOS erasure. Am I correct? I just want to make sure I understood your point.
And economic displacement. I brought up the stat that between 1999 and 2005, because the United States has poorly educated Black people, right? It's a multi-layered issue, right? But instead of training Black Americans to be nurses, instead they imported 645 Jamaican women to be nurses. So it's about in the way people are allowing themselves to be used as pawns. And we get it. You're coming from another country and you need that money, right? But when you get here, you have to be aware of that position and the way you are also being utilized as a tool for white supremacy to continue to oppress the people who built this country.
Now, this is my question for you. Just piggybacking off the Jamaican example that you brought up. Would it be fair to say that, do you think there were as many ADOS who wanted to be nurses as the amount of Jamaicans who wanted to be nurses, or how did that come to be about?
It was about the seeking out of other Black people who were not here. It's about this country has the money, this country has the resources. It's about the way in which this country is practicing immigration, not the fact that you are immigrating. The way the country is practicing immigration. Another quick example, how a lot of these tech companies, they're bidding on these H-1B visas, right? They get, let's say for argument's sake, 100 visas, right? But these temp agencies, they become invested in these immigrants continuing to work, and they extend these visas 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. But no one's invested in Black Americans working. That is further contributing to our economic.
But prison
that's
privatization is still going.
That's further. Sorry, I had a phone. Yeah. That's further contributing to the economic lockout of Black Americans who built this country. So
while
we're
prisons are still going.
Yeah, quick thing I wanted to add to that. From my personal experience, I do have, people that will fall under the ladder of ADOS who are friends of mine, who are like in my personal life. And one thing I wanted to add is those people are doing very well for themselves. Those are people who have gone out there, sought out opportunities, and got those opportunities. So this is where my confusion lies in. Do you think the United States government or just certain agencies are purposefully ignoring Black Americans and giving opportunities to Africans? Is that what you're saying? Because the Black Americans that I know who've been out there seeking for opportunities definitely got them. That's where the confusion lies in my case.
Please, can I just say something? Because I want us to be really careful. Those of us who are not ADOS,
some of the things that people are saying reminds me very much of what white people say to us, and it's making me
Right.
cringe here. And I just want us to be very careful about the questions we ask and the approach that we take. When we say things like, do we believe that they don't want to have these jobs? We're trying to say they're not working hard enough to get that, and we're ignoring the systems in place that cause that to happen. When we ask questions or say things like, I've heard some very inflammatory remarks around the fact that jobs are being replaced. This is exactly the same thing that white people say in many countries to immigrants, to black people. So I just want us to be really careful. As someone mentioned before, that for some reason we don't apply the same logic amongst ourselves as black people, that we are very easily able to identify when white people are doing it, whether it's around ADOS, whether it's around colorism. We just suddenly check out and we think we don't recognize the things we're doing. Let's just be really careful about what we're saying, and let's just allow
Please don't
ourselves.
police my language. I
No,
never
sorry, I
said.
don't mean you. I wasn't talking about you. I wasn't talking about you. I was actually, no, I completely was not talking about you. I was talking about Abu Bakr, actually. And what I wanted to say, Tara, is that I really felt that you were being really graceful, because I know when that happens to me, when white people do that to me and they start asking me questions like, oh, but maybe you guys just don't want to have those kind of jobs. Like, I don't have the patience and the grace to respond to them in a nice way. I'll tell them to get lost. That's what I meant. I didn't mean
I know, not to cut you off, but this is my thing. You cannot tell me not to ask questions because I want to understand things. I can be here.
She said be
Yeah,
mindful.
hear me out. I want to be mindful, but sometimes that's why I'm asking those questions. I'm not coming from bad faith. I told you I do support ADOS. That's why I asked, do you think the government is purposefully doing those things to exclude black Americans? And I
If we
like
can
Terry's
acknowledge
response.
that the government is built on systemic oppression,
said, I have ADOS friends. Like, I'm just saying, be careful of think about how some of these things sound. A lot of it sounds exactly the same way that white people ask us these questions, but they say they support us. But actually, there's the kind of almost the challenging. There's nothing wrong with asking questions. This whole room is about asking questions, and people are being really graceful in answering those questions. But I'm just saying there are certain things that not just you, that other people have said that have made me kind of cringe and been like, but are you not hearing the way you're going about this? And when it happens to us, we turn around to white people and say, like, why would you say it like this? Like, don't tell us that we don't want these jobs, or we're not working hard enough, or don't tell us that we're using inflammatory language, and we don't like that. So I'm just asking all of us who aren't ADOS to be mindful of how we are asking people questions, because they're here to help us and to help us understand, and they've taken time out to do that, which they don't need to do, which I know I don't have patience to do for white people anymore. And I don't have that emotional labor to do, and they're giving that emotional labor. So I'm just saying, can we just be mindful of the way in which we are asking people to share things with us? It's nothing wrong with asking questions. You ask questions, I think that's fine. But it's just, for me sitting here, it triggered me and made me think about how we don't like certain things to be done in a particular way, and that's what we're doing to others. That's just what I wanted. That's all it was.
truly sounds like you just
Okay, I
didn't
know.
know.
This what I would say. In that regard, can I speak, please? In that regard, I would rather have an ADOS person tell me that. I don't want you to speak for them. So Tara, if you thought my question was somehow offensive, I do apologize for that. I'm just trying to understand what's going on. I'm not white. I'm not coming from a place where I want to speak as a white person. God forbid, I never want to be that person, because at the end of the day, I'm still black. Whether I'm from Africa, I've been called a nigger so many times I cannot count it. So I do understand the experience of black people, and I will never come from a place where I'm undermining them. So if you thought my question was offensive, I do apologize for that. But I'd rather have an ADOS person tell me that, because that's the tone policy language. And if you think I'm wrong, just tell me that. I'd rather have that from an ADOS person.
Well,
That's
again,
my point.
as I said,
Okay.
as if I would rather, for example, I would rather a white person tell another white person off and not have to rely on a black person to be the one to tell them, actually, what you're doing is not, the way you're talking about things is not right. So again, for me, I don't necessarily expect them to put themselves in the line of fire of getting into a confrontation with you about it. I, as a non-ADOS person like you, I feel like I should be the one to call you out on those things, rather than make it their responsibility to do that. And again, like, that's what I'm saying to you. We need to make these connections with the equivalences. That's all I'm saying.
No, I feel like thank you for your contribution, Anu. I'm sorry for that, because I was answering my door, so I was confused as to who you're talking to, but I bring that back.
Thank you so much, Anu. That was wonderful.
Can I quickly make a comment? And then you can send me back in the audience. It's just a quick comment.
Go ahead, Tiffany.
Thank you. So I just want to say thank you to Tara for breaking that down, because that was actually one of my questions about like the xenophobic comments that I've seen in other club rooms, which I just did not understand. And as a first generation Nigerian, I have been putting in the work for African American communities in Boston, and I do want to continue that and be an ally because I fully support it 100%. So I just want to say thank you again for explaining that, it's not about, oh, you're stealing my jobs, blah blah blah. It's not from that type of standpoint. It's just that we're not getting those opportunities. So I just want to say thank you. That's it.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for.
Yeah, I just wanted to say this because I have to go. But yeah, thank you to everyone here who's taken the time to answer my questions, especially you, Tara. And for my last point, I wasn't coming from a place of malice, me trying to undermine anybody. But I hear what Anu said, and I would have appreciated to hear that from an ADOS person, because I don't want to come across like that. But I appreciate this, and I think it did clarify a lot of things for me, that ADOS is not this xenophobic group that's going out there, bashing Africans. So I appreciate that, and thank you guys. I'm gonna exit the stage now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If there's a queue, could I be put on it? Because I have a question.
Wait, were you talking to me?
No,
No.
sorry. I was more to the moderators. Yeah.
I think Serafina was trying to go, and then if Rora, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yeah, it's just Aurora. It's just Aurora. I'm just gonna put Aurora.
Aurora. Okay.
I'll go after.
You
I
can
thought
go
I was gonna
after.
go at some point. I'm sorry.
I'm
Never
sorry.
mind.
Who's speaking?
Yeah, is that still
That,
the queue
who,
here?
that
Okay.
was this is Jonathan. I thought I was after Disney and Calvin, but okay.
Okay, it's okay to restructure it. So let's go Serafina, Rora, Jonathan, I think who's who, and then Niall, or I'm not sure how you pronounce that. If you wanted to go afterwards.
That's
Mark. Calvin has been waiting for quite some time, but
you know what,
just remove me.
Yeah, I
then,
can go after
I'll
him.
just listen in.
I don't mind waiting.
All right. So my only point is that I'm actually, a part of the ADOS culture, and not knowing. I'm from Texas. My family has, come from the States. I know nothing else. And it could be just a matter of me not knowing and not paying attention. I've never heard of ADOS before. And I'm just kind of wondering if someone might understand why that might be, if I'm asking that correctly.
I don't know why you haven't heard of it, but it's because we're a new movement. That's what it is. We really started activating. I think we're really about 2 years into the activation phase, but we spent, for me, I'll speak for myself. I spent the first 3 years just listening to Yvette and Tone and getting the political education. Then once we had the political education, then we activated. So you're just now hearing about us because this movement is still pretty much a baby. So that's why we're spending so much time defining ourselves and fighting things off, because we have a movement that we're growing and we're nurturing and we're making sure it's healthy. And so
Understood.
if you're just not learning about it, it's still new. But hey, man, what part of Texas you from? 'Cause I'm from Texas.
I'm in Dallas. Well,
All right,
right now, but
we got ADOS Dallas, we got ADOS Fort Worth. ADOS101.com. So if you want to go check it out, man, there's chapters out there. There's chapters out there.
Awesome. So I went to the website and I'm gonna go over it tonight. What can I do from your mouth? What can I do to tap in? How can I help?
You can go to ADOS101.com to learn about the Black Agenda, and I would advise you also to subscribe to Breaking Barrel on YouTube. That's Yvette Carnell, and literally just start watching her shows. It's so much knowledge, an archive of knowledge in there that will answer a lot of these questions, that give you a political foundation to where, for me, because I got involved in the movement, not because I grew up loving politics or anything like that, but the data and the express need was dire. And I'm like, man, we about to be taken out of here. You know what I'm saying? So it was a urgency that was instilled, So that's why y'all see us on here showing labors of love and defending the movement. And it is exhausting, but we understand what's at stake. And our biggest issue is getting other people to realize where we're at. And COVID is kind of helping out with that in my experience. But to answer your question, be brief, ADOS101.com. Subscribe to Tone Talks, Antonio Moore and Yvette Carnell on YouTube. Look at what they're doing, because they're the founders of the movement. And just reach out, from there, just immerse yourself in the information. You can follow me as well. We can DM. I can get you hooked up with people.
All right, cool. And then also just to, not to say I'm ignorant to the plight, me and my group, we're doing stuff. We're boots on the ground with, what we can and how we can contribute to the general situation. But yeah, just if we could get together and actually, if we can get together and have something that's organized, I think that would be the best way to go. I didn't know this existed, so this helps me.
Outstanding, man. Well,
it's like a weight off my shoulders to know somebody else is actually paying attention.
Man, that's how it felt. That's how I felt when I came across this group as well. That's why I'm so passionate about it. And a lot of these people I don't know, but I kind of had the opportunity to meet at our conference, and it's like my family. So when y'all see us fighting, y'all know this is my family I'm defending. So I care about these people and at a very passionately about them. So we out here fighting.
Will y'all please move me to the audience and y'all can let somebody else come up to speak. Thank y'all for everything, and I'll be here.
Serafina, I think you were next.
Okay. Thank you for Timo, by the way. But hi guys. So just little. I don't want to say like much, I guess, but just some background of me. I'm a child of like Nigerian immigrant parents. But I almost 95% support ADOS. And I do support reparations for African Americans. Because I just feel like it's a logical thing to do. There's really no, I mean, there is nuances to like a very complex situation and stuff like that, but I mean, I think it makes sense, and the whole argument makes sense. But I want to ask you guys though, like, just and this is just a learning like I'm just trying to learn. Like I'm 20 years old. I just want to learn more about the world. And before I say this, I want to say also kind of like what happened with the exchange of like Anu and the man that just left. I really want the conversations to be directly to what people are saying, because I know this whole conversation is very triggering conversation, because Africans and African Americans have a history of just like kind of quarreling and stuff like that. I really don't want it to be emotional. I really want to speak facts to a very important conversation that Africans need to learn, especially, and this is coming, I'm being very honest, like right now, I think Africans need to just sometimes stop and learn from people who, come from less privileged backgrounds. But at the same time, there needs to be healthy dialogue on both sides. But I want to ask you guys, like, I feel kind of like, just kind of like what I'm thinking. Sometimes it feels like the movement can kind of like, and I think you guys already kind of addressed it, but I feel like the movement can kind of like scapegoat Africans in a way. Because it's kind of like, sometimes it just feels like, it feels like the rhetoric is like, oh, Africans come here to take jobs away from other people. You know what I'm saying? And I like, and it's kind of confusing for me because all my African friends, we all agree to like whatever we do in this country, we have to help our friends. And Africa.
Are you helping American Black people?
I mean, so for now, like one of my main goals is like, because I'm gonna be a nurse, I'm gonna do nursing, and I know like there's like problems within like Black or well, I guess not African American specifically, but like Black mothers like giving birth, and like how like whenever they don't have like Black nurses that can advocate for them, they can die and bad things can happen for them. So that's kind of like my first way of like contributing, especially because I don't have, I mean, as a nurse, I only have like a small salary. I don't have enough capital to like really like gather my stuff. But the more I go through my education, the more I can like give back. So that's just how I am.
Can I say something?
How long have you been in this country?
I mean, I grew up here. Like I lived here I'm 20 years old, so I lived here for 20 years. So I grew up here.
Okay, and what have you done to politically advance Black American people?
Okay, so politically, I don't know if I have specifically helped African Americans, like specifically. I try to become politically engaged, and I try to like just anytime I can advocate for African Americans, and like especially like for me personally, the biggest thing I like to do is I always like to like kind of the anti-Blackness that Africans can kind of display. I always try to like bring it back to like logic and say it's not always this simple. Like the idea that African Americans, can't bring themselves up to like economic, success or whatever. I always try to like tell them that, because I've had my best friends in high school, and like my two best friends, they're African American, and so it's like me having like direct experience.
Did you just say I have two Black friends? I'm sorry.
I'm saying like no. I was gonna say that like being friends with them has shown me the like it's kind of like opened me up to like what it can mean to be African American, and like be born into like the like a social kind of like dynamic that is unfavorable to them. So that's then why I always try to like advocate for them in any way that I can. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, Serafina, understand that you're first generation African, and you're saying that, oh, how am I going to help, them, right?
Yeah.
Understand that should not be the case.
That
Like,
should
you've been
not
here
be the
since
dynamic.
breakfast, and you have more opportunities. America has given you a dream, something to build, something to work for, and we get to be the pity people. And what we're saying is, we've done all the work, and everybody's over here eating the fruit. And I tilled the soil, I picked the weeds, I got thorns in my hand, I'm bleeding, and now we get to be the pity people. We don't want the charity. What we're fighting for, we want the economic inclusion. And we're not scapegoating Black Americans, but we're saying, hey, like you get to come
Like
here and you get to
Africans.
experience something completely different, and you get to decide to make a conscious decision if you want to help or not. You
Yeah.
see what
So
I'm
I wish.
saying?
Yeah.
Like, hold on.
Really
Let
quick,
me
really
help you.
quick. And Serafina, you are first generation here, already in college. My people have been here for 401 years. I'm the first one in my family to go to college.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Do you understand the level of disparity that has that have accumulated, especially economic disparity that has accumulated from the past 400 years until now? And just because I have a college degree doesn't mean that I'm making six figures either. But it's about how long we've had to wait and how long we've had to fight. And you are first generation already in a more privileged position than your African American friends, to where you feel the need to help us.
Well, it's not that I'm trying to help y'all, but I'm saying like in order to be an ally, to y'all in any way that I can. I mean, I can't.
No, it's not. I'm not. No one's coming at your heart, but I'm just trying to frame the conversation. That's all. Because it's kind of like like Kennedy. They were saying, hey, when they came over here, they were second generation Catholics, and they was like, well, y'all Black folks, wait y'all turn. They're telling James Baldwin this. Wait y'all turn. We've been here 2 generations, and we've already been president. And he was like, well, we've been here 7, and we ain't came no close to that. And we've been here a lot longer than that, and we still don't have a president. That was ADOS.
It's not a scapegoat.
You see what I'm saying? So
it's not a scapegoating of African immigrants. It's the understanding of the way the United States is practicing immigration to contribute to Black American erasure. That's what it is, because that's what's happening. The fact that you would come here and be first generation, already in college, nursing school, and that's awesome, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a level of access and privilege that my grandmother didn't have, that my great grandmother didn't have. And that's why we have to do this work to get this economic redress, because this country stole from us.
Because everyone benefits, but everyone benefits except for the people that were here that actually built the country.
Okay, so the point of ADOS is basically, it's just y'all, because I thought y'all wanted allies, so that's kind of like where I was going with that. But it seems like the point
we
is
do want allies, but let's get it. But
we don't want allies trying to reshape the work we're doing to help fit them
allies
in.
jump on board.
You gotta jump.
Help.
Right.
You
gotta help
we
us.
do want allies, but we're moving this thing forward, and we're not we're not begging. Like, let's be clear, y'all. We have over 50 chapters. We got AB 2131 passed. We got some real dubs. If y'all want to be a part of the next civil rights movement, this is the movement. Everything y'all saw, everything y'all say, Martin Luther King, this is it. If you want to be a part of this, hold on. If you want to jump on it, jump on. You see what I'm saying? And I'm almost done, I promise. If you want to be a part of it, jump on. We're welcome open arms. We got the website. We got everything. But when it comes to allyship, it's just moving it forward. It's not reshaping or reframing the mission.
Justin, can I just say something real quick? I don't mean to
jump in front of anybody, but I'm literally going back and forth between 3 rooms about this. I
Welcome,
do
Lineage.
represent ADOS, and I just want to be real quick. This app, Clubhouse, is new, but our mission and our focus is not new. And the one thing that I need for everyone to understand is that while we are inclusive of anybody who believes in our movement, we are not going to compromise our mission. I love this app. I'm low-key addicted. We may need to start a Clubhouse anonymous situation.
It's the
But
crack house.
right, it is, because I woke up in the middle of the night like, what they talking about? But the one thing that I do see problematic is there's a lot of people who are starting rooms with clickbait, and what's happening is the clickbait is painting a narrative that is not fair to people who have been doing the work. Whether you like the movement, whether you
Say
agree
that.
with it or not, it's not fair to slander just so you can get a full room. It's not fair. And I hope that from here on out, and I said this in another room, and I'm going to leave this room after this, and I'm going to go to another room. Let's have some
Clean the
integrity.
house.
Let's have some integrity. We can discuss things, we can disagree, but in the midst of it, let's have some integrity by doing this. The misinformation is it disservices you, because nothing can be said to get me out of this movement. It discredits and it disservices the people. It discredits and it disservices the people who really are fighting for you. We are for all Black people, but we have in order. We have to do shit in order. And the first order of business is reparations for people who built the economic strength of this country, not reparations for everybody who helped fight for us in the civil rights movement. Our battle in this country goes way back hundreds of years, even before civil rights. And so people have to understand, we can talk all together about the Black agenda. We can come up with plans, and we want to hear different voices. But when it comes to the focus of reparations, that's non-negotiable. And calling us xenophobic and giving suggestions is not wanted and is not needed. And that's just something you have to understand. I compare it to this, okay? I'm about to get married. I asked you. No, not in real life. I can't even get a second date. This is.
Oh my God! Never mind.
This is analogy.
An example. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm about to get married, right? I asked you to be my bridesmaid or my groomsman. You mad at me because you can't stand on the altar at the same spot as me and my partner. You have to know where to stand if you're gonna be a part of the wedding. And that's all we're saying.
That's a good analogy.
That's all we're saying. We are not saying that you can't. And then my thing is this: what is the problem with following?
Right.
Well, like what is? I think that's one of the most dangerous things that we tell little kids. Don't be a leader. I mean, to be a leader, not a follower. In order for there to be a leader, some people have to follow, and it's okay.
Can I jump in? Can I just jump in really quickly? I wanted to address Serafina's comment, because I'm trying to remember the grace that Yvette shows to anyone who calls in on her show, unless they're like blatantly stupid and trying to start problems. And so, Serafina, I think the question of it being scapegoated might be like, triggering or like evoke some kind of strong responses. But I think if you're trying to ask how to be of help, some of the things you've already mentioned are helpful, and continuing to be an ally in this movement is what's useful from you, but sometimes when we respond and we're kind of like asking very pointed questions, it can feel misdirected. And when Yvette has people who are first gen or allies of different groups, she always welcomes them with grace. And so I just want to make sure that we keep that in our own discourse, and we have the same welcoming nature, because I think Abubakar and someone before had asked similar questions, and they didn't receive necessarily the same response. So I don't want you to get the wrong impression about how ADOS receives allies.
Oh, no.
Thank you for that, Fatima.
Oh, it was actually, no, that was very informative and well put by, I think he left the room, but that was really, that's kind of what I wanted. I wanted to Like that's what I'm here for. I just want to, see what the movement is all about and just, do what I can. Yeah, that's it. So.
I have a quick question. I'm sorry. I've been I don't know if I'm next in.
Yeah, go ahead, Aurora. Aurora, did you have a question?
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Sorry. Yes, I do have a question. Thank you all so much for the space in this chat. I'm brand new to this movement as of yesterday. Have been having conversations about this specific topic for a long time, but just learning now about ADOS. And I just got out of another room where I personally felt like they were trying to portray ADOS as being, we've had this conversation about like whether or not it's xenophobic. How can I, as a new member of this movement, I've already gone online. I found my local chapter. I sent them, I joined the Facebook group. I sent them a direct message. But like, is there training? Is there something that we can do as new people, as a young Black, a young ADOS person? Because I have a lot of friends who are Caribbean. I have a lot of girlfriends who are from the continent, first generation, second generation. And like, I just know even the concept of me bringing this up is going to be met with friction. And I'm trying to write down what people are saying, but I know that when you're in the moment and you're having these conversations with your friends, because I hope that these conversations don't end here, that they continue on to our lives and not just us talking to our phones. I really would like to have a real conversation and like get equipped with knowledge. And I've also purchased a couple of books I saw on the book list online. Like I am really looking through your website. But I just really want to be equipped with knowledge when I engage with people who are making these arguments saying that like this entire movement is xenophobic and trying to equate the African immigrant experience to what it's like to be an African. When I say African American, I mean an ADOS person. How can I combat that? How, and then also, who is this man that keeps getting brought up that it has some linkage to the Trump administration, but who also may have linkage to ADOS? Like, what are the facts? And I don't know what his name is, but there's this person who apparently has a lot of xenophobic opinions about like immigration in general. And again, I'm very new. So
Well, it was. Well, I'll wrap that up. Man, I'm so tired of cleaning up his shit. That was what happened was this guy he does documentaries and he's like Pan-African, whatever, and he has a large following. ADOS was doing our own thing, and he shouted us out, one day, and our leaders of the movement kind of was embracing because they wanted to reach out to the people that necessarily they couldn't reach out that was loyal, followers of him. So we kind of, he was shouting us out, so it was cool, but he was never, ever a part of the movement. And one day there was a criticism and then it all fell out. So there has been, ever since then, he has been hell-bent on being a distractor. But prior to the fallout, he had already set up this FBA stuff, before. So it was real messy. It was real it's been a mess. And ever since then, we've been trying to clean up that mess. It almost seems like those are the people that start in these disparaging rooms that I've been in, right? So
I don't know. I mean, the room that I was in was a group of younger women of my demographic, like young Black girls. And I was the only person who was in support of the movement. And they were, I guess, like I got invited to be in the movement, I think because I was on another call. And they were essentially trying to tell me how xenophobic the organization was, how there's another girl on the call who was like me, ADOS, and said, I will never call myself ADOS. I'll never associate myself with this organization. Da, da, da. And I'm just like, wait, what? Like, how do we get here? Like, how can
well, let me help you out. We're not looking for everybody, and I keep saying this in every room I go to. I feel like a broken record. We're not looking for everybody. We're out here trying to educate people on where we are, and of course, we're looking to grow because that's why we're out here doing the work. But we're not expecting everybody to get down. So you talk to your friends. You're like 1 of 3, 1 of 4. Just having you is enough. Out of those people, if you came in hitting the ground running, reading books, joining chapters, and you are enough, because we were trying to find you throughout this process. People that's ready
I'm
to
here.
do the
Yeah,
work.
I'm definitely here.
You see what I'm saying? No, I'm just saying, like, so you like, what can I do to learn? I know you're excited, but just watch videos, read those books, do what you're doing, keep that fire burning. You see what I'm saying? We were trying to find you. We're not looking for those other people.
I understand that, but I think that like I hear that, and I'm happy that like I have found this movement, but I also think it's important because as the movement continues to grow, we will have these conversations with our family, with our close friends. And I personally, which is my earlier question, how can I adequately and eloquently explain this movement and differentiate this movement from the other things, this other like what's going on out there that I've already become aware of, and I've only known of this movement.
I was actually going to address that. That was my main point of being in this room. I was going to address exactly what she's talking about.
Okay, 1 second. So I think what Justin just said was pretty much we are not associated with Tariq Nasheed. That was something in the past that has happened. So I would encourage most people that have questions to visit ADOS101.com to watch the archive of videos from Yvette and Tone. And I think by doing that, you will learn everything you need to know about the movement and what's going on.
And you need to read What We Get Wrong About Closing the Racial Wealth Gap, which is a report by Dr. Sandy Darity and Antonio Moore, one of the co-founders of ADOS. This will dispel most of the myths that you hear about what Black people can do to help themselves and the excuses that people give for why reparations aren't needed. Like that one report will answer many questions. So it's called What We Get Wrong About Closing the Racial Wealth Gap.
Outstanding. Thank you for that.
Can I
Yeah, can I go after?
Go ahead, bro.
Yeah. Okay. So, one of the things, just so we could push the conversation, because I think that I've been in and out of these rooms for the past 3 or 4 days, and I think that ADOS has done a great job as far as establishing what the movement is, what it's about. It's a legal claim. I think everybody here, the moderators, have done a great job at establishing that it's not a xenophobic organization to any degree. Even the identification of ADOS outside of the organization isn't in itself xenophobic. It's self-identifying for a very specific purpose, which is a legal claim, a debt that's owed, right? And I myself would fall into that category. My entire family on all sides, I don't care who you're talking about, is all ADOS. I don't have any other connections to any other places. Now, the thing that I want to bring up was to push the conversation forward as far as like recruitment of other people who do fall into that category, but are contemplating the way that they're self-identifying or whatever issues they have with the ADOS versus Foundational Black American versus this or that as this organization grows. I'm going to tell you all my first perception of it. My only I guess what I was contemplating was, well, I don't for purely from an ego standpoint, I didn't want to say I'm ADOS because I didn't like the fact that I'm saying I'm a descendant of slaves, right? I didn't like that mind. I looked at it from like this psychological mindset aspect. And so the Foundational Black American movement, regardless of Tariq Nasheed and him being the face of that, I didn't even care about what he was talking about, which is important to care. But my perspective of Foundational Black American had nothing, it was void of him, right? It was because I felt like that name suited me better. But what I think Tara has done a great job of doing is that for myself at least, even in these rooms, I was like, oh, I'm all in support of ADOS, but I think I just like the name Foundational Black American better. But the reason why Foundational Black American is actually getting in the way of the legal claim is because if you go to the Foundational Black American website, and this was something I found issue with before I even got on Clubhouse about these conversations and even heard Tara speak, amongst others, it talks about their aspect, and someone else brought this up before about indigenous Black Americans and this whole argument that there's a group of us who are indigenous to this land. The reason why I'm now saying, you know what, I'm going to, for the purpose of the legal claim in this organization, I am going to now say that I am ADOS, because what you do by saying the Foundational Black American argument is that, hey, we have historical data that says that many of these tribes were Afro people to some degree. These are Black people, and we were here before you got here. But in the Supreme Court, if you make that argument and you're saying they belong to the other group they're amongst all the other ADOS people, like they're all a part of this whole foundational Black American group. It muddies the water legally because there has been separate litigation and legislation that's already been addressed for Indigenous American people. And so if we're saying as a group that some of us identify as Indigenous Americans, I'm Black and I've been here and I'm from a lineage of slavery, but I'm Indigenous. When you do that, now the government can respond and say, well, wait. So your organization is saying some of you are descendants of slaves, some of you are Indigenous Americans who were enslaved. We've already dealt with the Indigenous issue and we're still dealing with it. So in fact, they've even gotten reparations to a certain degree. So why are we giving you reparations again?
Correct.
Why are we doing this? And so you don't want, so now through listening, through looking at it through the lens of a legal claim and a debt owed, it is actually it is counterproductive to muddy the waters by saying, well, especially from a legal standpoint, I am a foundational Black American, because that group specifically is targeting not just people from the descendants of the slave trade, but they're saying they were Black people here prior to that weren't slaves, that already built this land, and that's legally going to muddy the waters. And I think it's important to say that. So thank you to all the moderators for driving that home, because now as we recruit more people, they have to understand that the foundational Black American movement, while that in some philosophical way may be better suited for some, if you are for pro reparations, the ADOS movement is a lot more is well suited to actually get that done, and they've done it in California already, and they have their actual feet on the ground. And the FBA movement, I think, not to disparage anybody in here, it can go against that. That's the only thing I want to say.
Yeah. Can I speak?
My bad, I didn't know it was off mute. I just had two comments I wanted to make. Who was just kind of speaking on, how there's ADOS as a people, like I consider it like a tribe, and then there's the organization. Do y'all think that possibly it was not the most responsible thing to kind of combine the two? Just your thoughts, not to say that it was irresponsible or whatever. And then my second kind of question is, a lot of people who have encountered some ADOS people come off feeling that it's xenophobic. I agree with everything that y'all say, but at some point, is that something that y'all got to look internally and figure out, like, why are some of our members coming off with this kind of xenophobic type of way of thinking and talking?
Okay, I can answer real quick to answer your second one. I just want everybody to understand that this is a new movement. There are a lot of moving pieces. There are a lot of different chapters in different states. So we are trying to get everything very cohesive at the moment. So we can't control everybody who is ADOS by lineage, because some of these people are just by lineage, but they're not a part of any chapters. They haven't been a part of getting any bills passed, and they're just learning about it on Twitter and coming onto these clubhouse rooms and speaking on behalf of the organization. But the organization is something that is very new, and it is trying to be very cohesive at the moment. So I just want to make that very clear to give us some grace. We've been on here for at least the past 2 weeks arguing about being homophobic, being xenophobic, being pretty much not inclusive to everybody else. And we have dispelled every single myth over and over and over again. It's getting to the point where we're going to have to get off of these apps, and everybody who has questions is going to have to go to the website, reach out to us directly, and figure out how to get involved in the local chapter. So I just want to make that point clear.
Thank you for that, because it sounds like it's something that y'all are talking about internally, and you guys are fairly new, so it's understandable y'all don't got control over everybody.
Thank you. Can I say something?
Can I please say something? Because I've been waiting in this chat for like almost, I think, like 2 hours now.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you. So I wondered that, like, whether this one drop rule of like being Black applies to American descendants of slavery. For example, if like the person was mixed race, but they're very light skinned, and they have one Black parent or a mixed race parent whose family descends from American slavery, but they also have a white parent, is it okay that they still receive reparations for slavery? And the reason I ask this is because that person may get like privilege through colorism in America at this very moment in time.
This fight is
And then
not about
receive,
privilege. It's
wait,
about
can I please
economic
finish?
lockout.
Can I please finish?
Well, you're making our stance about privilege.
No, I'm not making
okay.
I just want to,
Okay.
like, I've listened to everyone, I've let people, like, I just want to it's so short. I just literally, it's so short. So yeah, is it okay if they still receive reparations for slavery? I ask this because this person, they may get privilege through colorism and looking like visually ambiguous, maybe like white passing, but under the system of ADOS, they might still receive reparations first over someone who goes into the Black agenda you guys have, who's a fully Black American person, but they're first generation or second generation immigrant. So they don't have a direct like link to American slavery, but right now they've maybe been in America for 2 generations. They're fully Black, they're dark skinned, and they're probably getting the brunt of like American systematic racism. So I'm just wondering how that ties into it.
So our movement, did you go to ADOS 101.com?
Yes, yeah, I have.
Before. Okay. So and where anywhere does it talk about systematic racism? It talks about
but I'm asking if the one drop rule applied, because you're saying about American descendants of slavery. So that means that if someone could be one quarter Black, but then be an American descendant of slavery.
So if Niall, if you know
it's Niall.
Niall, I'm sorry. If you know anything about Black Americans in this country and descendants of slavery, our people were raped by the slave masters. We are a mixed race people. It's about the lineage. It's not about your complexion. It's not about your light skin privilege or if you've passed. If you can trace your lineage back to a slave, or even just as simple as if your grandparents were born in this country, right? Because a lot of our documentation is missing. Because immigration from the continent and from the Caribbean in this country was to the right of the decimal point prior to the 80s, right? So that's simple. That's it. That's it.
But do you see how that's a bit flawed?
It's not about light skin privilege. It's about
no, but I'm just saying. Do you see how that could be flawed?
This is about the redress for economic lockout from this system, from this country, because this country was built off of our backs. We made this country a superpower. This country owes us trillions of dollars. This is about a debt. It's not about my light skin. I'm up here. I'm light skinned. Nigel's light skinned. We not getting a check. I'm getting my check.
I'm not saying not get a check. I'm just saying that you're more privileged at this very moment than someone else.
It's not.
You'll say you're going to be more privileged than Fatima.
No, she's saying it's
you know what I'm saying?
economic.
It doesn't make
I'm
sense.
saying that this country still owes me money because my grandmother was redlined and couldn't own property.
Right.
Whether I'm light skinned or not. And my
social.
grandmother was light skinned.
Okay, also, I just want to say, Niall, this was already addressed.
Can you please get my name right? It's Niall.
Okay, I'm sorry, Niall. I'm sorry. This was addressed earlier in the conversation. I know you said you've been here for a while. So I just want to also remind us to not argue back and forth points that we have already addressed, just for the people that's also listening.
I'm okay with that because I know people trickle in later. Like, I'm not going to say your question can't be answered because you wasn't here at 9 o'clock. I woke up. This was my breakfast, right? I choose to do that. And so if people are trickling late and they ask a question that's already been answered, that's fine. But I want people to understand that this is an economic redress. We are not here trying to fight the system of racism. We don't think that white America is going to wake up and no longer be racist. This is not a conversation about privilege. This is a conversation about economic redress. And if you don't understand the ways that Black Americans, American descendants of slavery, were locked out of economic participation, then you got to go Google and then come back.
Listen, I understand that, but what I'm saying, there's a parallel, because what you're saying here is like for someone who may be in England right now, who's currently living in England, but they may have a one-drop rule linkage to American slavery. So they might have had a great-great-grandparent who was going through American slavery and now they've emigrated to England, or they've emigrated to even Nigeria or some other country, right? But although now they're like an English citizen, Nigerian citizen, whatever citizen,
Most
Italian
of us
citizen,
didn't have the money to go
do you
back
not
to
do? But
Nigeria
I haven't
or other
finished.
places. So
Like,
I mean, I'm sure that'll be a small
I'll let
number.
you speak. I'll let you speak. I'll just say it like. There's a parallel, because if you're gonna apply the one drop rule with the American descendants of slavery, then surely you have to apply the one drop rule of anyone who's had any form of link to American slavery, because there's people who've gone through the American slave system, but they're not living in America right now, and
It's not a one drop rule.
She's not arguing one drop rule. You're being assumptuous.
In 1700s,
you're being assumptuous.
Wait,
okay,
what?
Naya, we're going to answer your question, but we're going to move you to the audience so we can speak and answer your question. Okay?
I'm done with speaking. I'll just
okay, good.
So
Niall,
can I say something, please?
Sorry,
can I ask a question? Hold on 1 second, y'all. We gotta finish what just happened. Go ahead, Tar.
Oh no, go ahead. I'm fine. I think I handled that.
If his question is if you have one drop rule, like that's not what bases your lineage. There's a lot of white people who might have Black blood in them. It doesn't work in the reverse.
Right.
So it's not about a one drop rule. The criteria that's listed on the ADOS website is a guide criteria, first of all. So I'm sure it'll become more refined as time goes on. But specifically, like if you have an example of a person who has some white parentage somewhere in their lineage, if they're half white and half Black, the grandparent has to meet both of the criteria, meaning they have to have descended from a slave and be able to prove that, as well as have identified as a Black person over the past 10 years. So even if you're mixed race, you still have to meet the criteria through at least one of your grandparents. Through both of your grandparents. One of your grandparents.
Speak.
Yeah, go ahead.
Parents.
Okay. First, I want to thank the host for moderating this, because I think we need more conversations like this. I am American descendant of enslaved people, and I think what you guys are doing is ingenious. It's giving new language and agency. I hosted a talk earlier on PTSS, which is a theory by Dr. Joy on the post-traumatic slave syndrome, which you can correlate to post-traumatic stress syndrome. And a lot of that is in correlation and understanding that the melanated people, whether you want to say indigenous, whatever, the people that enslaved melanated people classified everybody here as Black. And so the people that directly built this country were people that deserve reparations from that. A lot of people are arguing, and I understand their argument about the social aspect of things, but from my understanding of my research on ADOS, it's a lot of levels, but economic impact is one of the biggest factors as it relates to having a standing in any sort of society. And so someone fighting for that, and you guys put new language to that, I think it should be celebrated. Whether you agree with it or not, you should acknowledge that a group of people that have been a marginalized and oppressed group of people are making a stance to make a change in a country that has been built around them and economically disenfranchises them. The whole system of America is rooted on the backs of those enslaved people. And so when you look at historically how many, every single freaking group of people, from like every immigrated people, from Italians to every other people, they all benefit from the works of those people. So why would it not make sense or behoove a government to benefit, to give those people their just dues? But when you talk about bringing in like the actors and stuff like that, it's not a hate thing. It's about acknowledging that, hey, this government recognized that they did wrong. When you look at large panels like the United Nations, when they talk about what's going on in America today, a lot of us may not pay attention to international news, but other places and other global organizations acknowledge that wrong. America tries to sweep that under a rug. This group is, and from my understanding, attempting to bring that to light. Like, hey, you cannot sweep that under the rug and not like acknowledge that we live in a bartering capitalistic society. So don't give me woohoos and we're sorry. No, pay me. Like that's reparations. That's what it's about. So I think I'm appreciative of you guys for having this panel. And I'm going to move to the crowd, but I just want to acknowledge that because I hate for that to get missed over and us as melanated people going back and forth sometimes because the point can be misconstrued. No, you guys have created a system, and yes, it may be relatively new, but what in anything in its new form is it not forming and building as it learns and goes? That's a corporation, that's a business, that's anything. So it's not a matter of attacking it, but bringing to light your questions and giving it to the people, the gatekeepers, so that they can acknowledge that and continue to grow. But I thank you guys for having this platform and like educating us. It's really important.
Hey Tara, it's Connie. Will you do me a favor and tell everybody about because I don't remember the dollars, but just as an example of how ADOS are left out of all of the lucrative opportunities in the United States, can you tell them about how many millions are being spent on the Olympics and how they're purposely spreading that around every community but the ADOS community?
Sorry, thanks Connie for that question. I don't have the numbers for the Olympics, but in terms of like the wealth disparity between the two groups, is that what you mean? Between that, like,
No, well, okay, so you guys work with me. This is just a general number. There's like hundreds of millions of dollars that have already been spent in preparation for the Olympics. And that money has been distributed to every community but the ADOS community. That has to be purposeful. How is it that they're upgrading communities that are already uplifted and just they've got contracts with every community? And if you look at a map, it literally, the money is spread around the ADOS community.
right?
So
And you
just,
mean like gentrification and things like that are happening in our Black communities?
oh,
Like,
I mean, any example you want to give, but I wanted people to understand that the Olympics has hundreds of millions of dollars and they've already dispersed those funds, not all of it, but it's gone to everyone but ADOS.
Well, when you say ADOS community, are you excluding the Black community? Because currently, most people from the Caribbean or other brown countries or Black countries, whatever you want to call it, they're part of the ADOS communities.
Can
Well,
I? I want to just jump in, please.
Well, okay,
I just
somebody
feel like
else
that's
want
kind
to
of
address it?
off topic,
When I say
but
ADOS, it's because I'm accustomed of speaking this language. I live in Los
right.
Angeles, and the specific area I'm speaking of, we're not New York. We don't have a heavily Caribbean or continental African community here. We're mostly Latino and ADOS. So in this instance, it primarily is the ADOS community, but I do understand what you're saying. But I am specifically speaking about here in Los Angeles.
Right.
okay,
And the
I
and
get
the
you. I
other,
get you saying okay.
yeah, it's a very
Yeah,
small number. Yeah,
yeah.
because we're only
So
13% of the population, and Caribbeans and continental Africans are even smaller. I think they're what, like,
I don't even
what are
know.
they?
But Luke, to what
Yeah.
you said,
I think it's like 1%.
yeah, I do try to be sensitive to, delineating ADOS versus Black when necessary. So in this instance, maybe I should have, broke that out and clarified. So apologies.
No worries. I get where you're coming from. Yeah, thanks for the clarification.
I just wanted to respond to the comments, the legal comments that were made about who could be a part of the claim, stating that there are foundational Black people that were on this in the Americas prior and that they would mess up the claim. I am an attorney. If those people were stolen, as we know that they also were, if you had Black skin, you were taken into slavery, they also would have a claim. They cannot mess up a claim if they were taken and enslaved in the nation while this went on.
Thanks for clarifying.
Mariama, have you read ADOS101.com?
I have not. I came here for information, just to listen, because I've seen a lot of stuff on Twitter. I've seen about the movement. I've heard a lot of the negative. I've heard positive. I just wanted to come and listen and hear, but I just heard something that.
Well, let me jump in here. So when you speak about it from a legal perspective, we're not, and I'm not saying this is what you
But
said.
you were not here, Connie, when who made
Mariama,
his
I'm
comment.
addressing what you just said. I'm
And
not
I can
arguing
address
with
it as
you,
well.
but I'm not arguing with you.
Connie's also an attorney.
So I'm actually a lawyer, not attorney, but
Oh,
thank
I'm
you for
sorry,
that.
Lori.
Well,
But
I'm both, sweetie.
Mariama, no one's arguing. This is a dialogue.
Let's be respectful, guys, please.
Yeah,
Thank
I just want to share something with you. So I don't have any beef with you or anything. So the reason I was asking if you read ADOS101.com is because this isn't, a lawsuit. As you know, it's a legislative claim, but it still has the same components of filing a lawsuit. So you need, you need standing, you need, oh my God, now I can't even think of it. Jurisdiction, and you need a valid legal claim. So our claim is based on wrongs done specifically to American descendants of slavery, not Jamaican descendants of slavery, not Haitian descendants of slavery. So we have standing in this country. Our claim is against the United States government for slavery, peonage, convict leasing, redlining. We do this all the time, so it's hard to keep naming all the issues. But there were so many specific harms done to us, and they're all economically related. We did not receive equal protection under the 14th Amendment. We didn't get GI benefits. We didn't get SSI. We didn't get unemployment. Those are debts owed specifically to us. Other people, yes, experience slavery in other countries. They have a different abuser, therefore they have standing someplace else. So that's all I wanted to bring to your attention.
Can I respond to what Mariama said, please?
Can I
Can I
respond?
respond? Because she was talking to who? She said
one
it
at
was
a
something
time,
about what I
please.
said. Yes.
One at a time. Who? Go ahead, and then y'all can follow up.
Okay. So here's the issue that I was bringing up. You're right that they could have a legal claim because they were on this soil and then they were taken, but into slavery. But the issue is reparations for natives, for indigenous peoples, have already been addressed, which addresses the issue that they've been displaced, that they've been enslaved, that they've been colonized. It addresses all of those things, a myriad of issues. It's not just about the fact that they were colonized. They address the fact that, yes, natives were enslaved too. But if you add that to the ADOS movement, it can muddy the waters because Irish people, I know you're talking about people here that were on this land, but we Africans weren't on this land originally either, but we were brought here. So if our argument is that, hey, we were here through the slave trade and we deserve a debt owed to us, then Irish indentured servants can say, hey, my family was here in the Bacon Rebellion in 16 whatever, and they were a part of the Bacon Rebellion. They were slaves too. So what's up with that? Like, we need our reparations. We are American, technically, descendants of slaves. So where's our money? And so I'm saying that you muddy the waters when you add these other designations in there. That was all I wanted to say.
Okay, this is Mariama. So I'll just start out with an apology for jumping in and cutting off. I think listening to the conversation and being a person that is descended from enslaved people in this nation, from the transatlantic slave trade, I think you get really excited, you get angry, you get hyped. So I apologize for the way that I jumped back in. I was responding directly.
No worries, it's all love.
Yeah, directly to who, and Connie, I think the information that you gave was very important for those that are not aware of what the objectives are. I just wanted to say that there's a difference between indentured folks and folks that were in the slave trade. And I wanted to allay some of the concern in that the suit, the legal issues could be thrown off because of the differences in how people claimed. If people can be traced in their lineage to people who were enslaved out of the transatlantic slave trade, or if they were stolen, they could not throw off or muddy up what the claim is. I agree with the stuff about people who were indentured. There are Europeans from all over Europe who were indentured. Poor people were indentured here before Africans were brought in from West Africa. I just wanted to clarify that if there were people who were enslaved in this process we're talking about, the transatlantic slave trade, those Black people, whether they were stolen as folks that were here, foundational or not, they could not corrupt the issue.
I disagree, but okay.
Okay, would anyone else like to respond? If not, we'll just keep going in order with comments. And also, if anyone would like to come up and join.
I think that
raising their
Shantae
hand.
was asking to speak and she didn't get a chance to speak.
Okay, thank
Hi.
you.
Yes,
I
I
was.
was.
Question
Thank
as
you.
well, if I can jump in at some point. I just had a question whenever. I don't want to skip anybody in line, but I just wanted to let it be known.
I just had a few quick things I wanted to say. I was pinged to come into this room, so I wasn't really sure what it was about, but I just want to try to be as quick as possible. But the way I was introduced to ADOS, I was introduced to them years ago when it was first kind of created, so to speak. And I was concerned when I found out about ADOS I'm technically a Black American. I was concerned because my first introduction to ADOS was through the founder, one of the founders, Yvette Carnell Brown, who sat on a board of a right-wing think group that is designed to be
Pause, ma'am.
anti-immigrant.
Who's Yvette? Who's Yvette?
She is the creator of ADOS. If you
No,
look at
I think you're getting confused with Yvette Carnell and Yvette
Nicole Brown. Is Yvette
Yeah.
Carnell.
The other
Okay.
person. I apologize. Yes, I am. I combined the names. I apologize. But yes, Yvette Carnell, she's the one who sat on this board. And it was a right-wing group that was anti-immigrant. And they have created organizations around the country for the sole purpose of separating people who were born here from their immigrant family members or counterparts. And so that was my first introduction to ADOS. And I remember warning my family and friends because I know that there is a huge divide between Black Americans, Caribbean people, and continental Africans. And so I warned my family and friends because I knew this was something that could take hold because there's so much confusion, there's so much of a divide, and we've all been so miseducated about our history. And
Did you unwarn them?
I'm sorry?
Did you unwarn them once you found out the truth? Is that what it's going?
Well, no, because I'm still trying to get there. And I think what I'm seeing now is that it seems like the original intent of ADOS, the reason why people do perceive it to be homophobic and xenophobic and all of those things is because that was the original intent of the organization. It wasn't.
That's not true.
It
That's
wasn't.
a lie.
Well, can I just speak my piece and you can
Yeah,
say
that can't be true.
You can say whatever you want to say. I'm just telling you based off of.
I'm
just telling you based.
But
I'm
you
just
said
telling
you. But
I'm
you
telling
need to
you.
make
I'm
it
telling you
Please
based
let her
off
finish.
Of,
Please
I'm
let her
telling you,
finish.
Thank you. I'm telling you based off of information. This is not something that was fed to me. I'm a person who is very well read.
Clearly it was.
My research, and I found out about this organization before it was a trending topic. Before people hopped on a bandwagon, I knew about this organization, and it seems to me that there are different factions now of ADOS that have clung to the idea of Black people getting reparations, but in that, part of it is separating us from our Caribbean and continental African brothers and sisters who ultimately suffer just as we do in this country in many of the same ways, whether they were enslaved here or in Jamaica or in Brazil. They come here and they're Black and they're disenfranchised the same way we are. And the whole issue of reparations is to address all of it, not just slavery.
That's not true.
That's
not true.
That's not true. It is true.
Your profile says you're well read and well fed. Like,
hold up, y'all. Hold on. Shantae, go ahead and finish in 30 seconds, please.
Yes, and I'm not, and the thing is, I didn't come on here to argue with anyone. Like I said, I was pinged. Thank you. I was pinged to come join this room. I didn't come here to argue with you guys. If you have a mission to get Black people what they're owed, I'm all for that. I'm for everything that's for Black people. So I want to be very clear. But what I think is, from all of what I have gathered over the years, long before ADOS was a trending topic and a mainstream conversation, what I have gathered is that ultimately, we do have a legal claim, right? This country owes us a huge debt. But as Black people, that are 13 million, or 13% of the population, 30-something million of us in this country, we are the minority, but in the world, we are the global majority. And when we separate ourselves from our African and Caribbean brothers and sisters who are here with us, who suffer from redlining, who get paid less for the same
They
work
did
the
not
same
suffer
way,
redlining.
who did
They wasn't here
right?
yet.
Okay,
People
and
separate
Hold up,
themselves.
hold
That
up.
don't
Let her
mean
finish.
they
Let
not
her
Asian.
you are
finish.
speaking.
Let her finish,
You are
and then y'all can
speaking.
respond.
You're speaking from your experience or based on
No,
what
we're
you know.
speaking from
But I'm
our history, not our.
listen.
Shantae, please finish it up, sis, and then they can respond.
Yeah, I just came on here to basically say that I hope that going forward, we will recognize that we are stronger as a unit, as a collective, than we are as individuals that are 13% of this population. And we have been fighting since we got here, and we ain't got nothing yet. All we get is
That's
the
not
same.
true either. But
All
go
we
ahead.
get. Okay, all right,
Yeah,
that's fine.
1964 Civil Rights Act, but
You're talking about 1964. I'm talking about W.E.B. Du Bois in 1910 that was saying the same
Moderators,
stuff that a lot of us are saying
Shantae,
now. That's what I'm
Shantae,
talking
okay,
about.
you spoke. Let them respond, please.
Moderators,
Okay,
can you guys start
so
muting
really quick,
people?
Shantae. So what my issue is when people say, "Oh, we need to include every Black person because they've been discriminated against and they can't catch a cab," right? Like, so if I work for Coke and there's a class action suit, right? The first thing I got to do to join that claim is prove I work for Coke. But if my friend worked for Pepsi, I can't bring my friend who works for Pepsi. I can't. They work for Pepsi, I work for Coke. That is going to diminish the very claim that we are submitting. Just legal definition alone, it's not going to work. When filing a claim, when filing a claim in court, you also have to establish jurisdiction. The globe is not our jurisdiction. This country is the jurisdiction because this is where the crime occurred. We are not suing the world. We're not coming for the claim from the rest of the world. We have to first go to who initially inflicted the harm on our people, and that is here on this soil, toward the people who work for Coke. In this instance, American descendants of slavery. It's not about a moral high ground. It's not about kumbaya. It's not about holding hands. It's about what's practical. What makes
And
sense.
it's really hard to have a
That's people in
conversation
their
when people it's
feelings
not
because
based
they
in
want
historical
everybody to feel
concepts.
included.
Let me step in for
Sorry,
one
go ahead.
moment. Thank you, Miss Tar, and then you can continue. As y'all speak, we're going to start moving people to the audience because a bunch of people want to come up. So thank you, Shantae. If you have something more to say, y'all feel free to come back.
She good.
I know y'all was saying y'all was going from top, all the way back, and I think I'm next in the queue. Can I jump in?
Yeah.
Yes, sure.
All right.
But real quick,
So
also, I just want to say that Yvette has addressed what Shantae brought up numerous of times, even on Clubhouse, numerous of times. So that has already been disputed.
Yeah. I know I've heard of ADOS, and I think the foundational other organization that been causing problems, Foundational Black. I'm not exactly sure the
You got it. Go ahead, bro.
name in it. Yeah. But anyway,
they're not an organization, by the way. But go ahead.
Say again.
Foundational Black Americans are not an organization, but please go ahead.
Okay. Group of people, whoever, Anyway, I'm just so I come from a few different perspectives, right? Grew up in an African American community. However, I am first generation Haitian American. My parents are from Haiti. Yes. So Haiti plays a crucial role in a lot of American history. Fighting from the foundation.
You mean the Louisiana Purchase? Because that's about the role
not just
that we're thinking about.
That is not the yes, correct. That is one of the major roles that major things that events that has happened.
Didn't help us. That didn't help us. That hurt us. They gave them access to the Mississippi. We had to overcome that. That did not help us.
No, I'm not saying that helped. That helped the white America. I'm not. I do support all things Black. I do support ADOS. I do support me. I consider myself Haitian American because, as I know, none of my descendants was brought here to America. But I haven't done much. I haven't done all of my lineage, and there could be some lineage here in America because part of that Louisiana Purchase and part of the Haitian Revolution. What happened, if people don't know, that a lot of the white French people came to New Orleans, came to Louisiana, brought their businesses, brought their slaves, and there was a well-known uprising and a revolt, in that area, years after Haitian slaves were brought, to America. So I guess my question,
that would make them ADOS.
okay, that's interesting, because that would be part of my question. Now, the other part, let me just say this before I ask my question, and I know, so I'll say this. I think it's important to also take a step back on both ends, right? Growing up in an African American community, I consider myself for a long time just Black American. However, there are some certain things I cannot relate to when it comes to, as far as having grandparents here on an American soil as slaves. But I can trace slavery back on Haitian soil, right? But I've learned living a duality right here in America, in the African American community, people not knowing my lineage and things like that. I had to take a step back and also look at things, from many different perspectives, right? From perspective of, I'm going to always support, my Black community, whether it's the fight for reparations for those my friends who are of African American descent, right? ADOS, as you would call it, right? Call yourselves, right? Or
30 seconds, fam.
So my question, so I'll get to my question. So my question is, if reparations are to be gained, right? How will those reparations be? How would it affect, and how will it be used to affect the Black community here in America at large? Because at this point, we are all connected.
Can I ask Luke a real quick question? Because we hear a lot about the Haitian Revolution, and bravo for the Haitian Revolution. I think as all Black people, it's a point of pride for all of us. But I'm wondering how much Haitians, other Black people, understand like what happened to the slaves here after the Haitian Revolution.
That's what I was getting at.
Absolutely. I'm not finished, Luke. I'm not finished. And how absolutely oppressive. I mean, you thought it was bad before, but what they began doing, and that's not Haiti's fault. That is not Haitians' fault. But I think like it's just a matter of perspective, right? Depending on what side of a border you're going to be on, right? So I just want, because I don't hear that, I never hear that in the conversations with Haitians and Haitian Americans about like, okay, we won our freedom. We came here, they came here. And let me give another example. You talked about the white folks who came from Haiti. So during the time, the free Black community in Philadelphia, which I have some ancestors from that area, during that time, they were trying to build a church, right? And so they were going around and soliciting funds to build a church. And by no means am I comparing this experience to what happened to folks during chattel slavery. But once the white Haitians came, they were so destitute and poor that the white Americans in the Philadelphia area, the Pennsylvania, the Quakers and everybody, they actually stopped raising money for these many times runaway slaves, free emancipated Black Americans in Philadelphia to build their church, and started raising funds for the white refugees from Haiti. And so I say that as just one example of how the Haitian Revolution, although supported, love it, glad that some Black folks were able to get free, but how it really had a very detrimental impact on us here. So, and I don't hear a recognition of that.
Well,
I see that the Haitian Revolution is always used as a point of shoehorning and erasure, and not a real recognition.
No.
1 second, Luke. I'm not
You're
finished.
very
And not a real recognition of the fact that while you got free, and this is the story of America, right? This has always been a story of America. While somebody got free, Black folks in America, ADOS in particular, the enslaved, were always the worse off by that freedom. And so you can respond or not to that.
Well,
No, I was going
yeah,
to say
I will
something. I
respond.
was going to say something to
Go
that,
ahead,
but Mary
Justin, and
kind of
I'll
cut in.
respond.
You
I'll
made it.
respond.
Go ahead, Luke. I'll let you go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll respond to that. No, amongst the historically educated, right? And I'm not just talking about going to university. In my family, we talked about history, right? All the time. We talk about Black history. We talk about history throughout the Caribbean, history throughout South America, North America, and the diaspora, and on the continent all the time. So amongst I'm transient in the DMV area, Maryland, DC, Maryland, Virginia area, right? And I have a lot of Haitian friends that are transient from all over the country, right? Even from Haiti, right? And we talk about this all the time. We do, right? You may not been around these conversations, but my friends who aren't Haitian, they've been around the conversation. They've heard us talk about how hate not only America, but Haiti as well. It went both ways. What the French did to Haiti affected America, right? And it affected my African American, my ADOS brothers and sisters, tremendously, right? It suppressed a lot. And I'm from Philly, so I understand. I know the history, right?
What's up, Philly? I'm from Philly too, bro. What's up?
Yeah, I mean, what's up?
Shout out Germantown. What up, Germantown?
Right? I'm uptown all day, right? So so we are aware and do understand, especially, I guess I'm 40, so first generation from the 70s and 80s on up. We understand what happened. We are in support. We are always in support of and speaking out, and we understand what happened to America, right? Because when a lot of slave revolts happened after the Haitian Revolution. However, because it's due to those slave revolts, a lot of slave masters, they tightened up. They got worse. They got harsher. They took a lot of those things, and it is sad, but we do understand. We acknowledge that, right? We understand those things as well.
Cool. Thank you, because I don't
Thank
hear that in a lot of conversations. But okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
May I ask a question? A quick question?
And I thought I can ask a question after Connie.
Yeah, I just want to
And
ask.
Wait, hold on.
For a while.
Yeah, Shelly was next, and she's been waiting for Sally, and she's been waiting for a long time, y'all.
I just wanted to say, like, I came into this room a little bit later. It seems like it's been going on for a while, so I'm not necessarily up to speed with whatever like the original topic was about. From what I've been listening to, excuse me, it sounds like we're talking about reparations and who is owed reparations. One thing I wanted to just mention was that there's a really wonderful episode of this podcast called Code Switch that sort of researches all of these, ideas that are out there right now about who qualifies. The episode is called Black Like Who, and it's on a podcast called Code Switch. So there's a lot in that episode that touches on what I feel like a lot of people have brought up here. But I just wanted to clarify, if someone could sort of set the tone, maybe for those of us who are newer in the room. Was there something like specific that happened regarding this ADOS organization recently, or are we talking specifically about who gets reparations? Could someone just clarify what our focus is?
From my understanding, it seems like people had questions. A lot has been going on this app with like misinformation with ADOS, and people had questions. So someone had created this room for that purpose, for people to come in here to ask those questions with people that's a part of the ADOS movement on the stage to answer.
Right, because I know I've been in here for about 7 hours, so I've been on here since about 10 o'clock this morning. But the original person who created this room, he's been so far gone, I don't even remember what the original topic was. But yeah, we just been in here.
Can I ask my question?
Of course.
Thank you, Brianna. And I mean this in the most genuine spirit. I've been on here for a while. I've come back. There's a lot of people who've been on here for a while. There's people that have just asked questions and they've heard me speak, everyone on this panel speak. We have clearly laid out the ADOS 101. We have been very clear that this is a debt and a justice claim. So I'm curious as to when does this conversation get elevated? Why do people keep wanting to talk about and center their history in another country? And we're setting forth that this is a legal justice claim. When do people authentically engage in the conversation at hand? And I feel like I feel like
Agreed.
um, I know that we're being gaslighted. And so my thing is, are people just doing this for clickbait? If so, this movement is too important for people to continue down this path. We are doing a great job in educating. We are real people. I'm sitting here in front of my computer. I have a real job. And I spend hours on here, hours in real life working. When are people going to stop wasting our time and bending every which way but loose to prove us wrong or try to make us into bad guys? Why can't we talk about the legality of the claim and how we get it?
I mean, I think if we look into the hallway and we see how many rooms there are devoted to ADOS, and not all of them positive, some of them are bashing, I think that people are so like they are enticed to drama. And so for some people, their experience on this app has been watching the drama that exists, not within the ADOS sphere, but, you know, related to ADOS, and are feeding off of that. But I second what you're saying, Connie, and I think that like moving towards solutions and progress is more important than dwelling in those different agendas and plans.
Yeah, Connie, that is a great point. And that was my point earlier, because it's just getting so exhausting to have this conversation over and over and over again. And it seems like people are deliberately not trying to hear the message, like I was saying earlier, but some people are, and I'm very thankful for that. But my suggestion, just moving forward, to people that are in ADOS, we have to stop engaging in these conversations because we have overexhausted ourselves by explaining numerous times, and we need to get back to doing the